Hi, welcome back guys. This is your sensei, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Naruto Faced His Dark Self? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Somewhere near Konoha, two people walked and discussed their return home after a long absence. Naruto, thinking about Ichiraku and a steaming bowl of ramen, asked the pervy sage if he was excited to go back. Jiraiya rolled his eyes at Naruto's familiar chatter but smiled despite himself. Suddenly a very bright light surrounded them and both became alert. Jiraiya wondered if the Akatsuki were trying to take the Nine Tails and attempted to enter Sage mode to identify who was behind it, but he found himself unable to use chakra. Naruto pointed at a large screen in the room where they had been transported and asked to watch a movie, but Jiraiya, worried, said they had been brought there against their will and that his chakra was blocked. Other people from all 5 nations then appeared in the same brilliant light, members of the Akatsuki, Orochimaru with Sasuke, and many others. They came to consciousness with murmurs, gasps, and arguments. Tsunade recognized Jiraiya and asked if he was there too. Jiraiya explained that he had been returning to the village when the light had struck and taken them here. The others confirmed they had experienced the same thing. Haiden threatened a sacrifice in anger, and Kuzu snapped at him, warning that it was not the time for rashness. Itachi watched Sasuke with quiet intensity, while Karen clung to Sasuke, trembling in fear. Sasuke tried to put distance between them. Konomaru, Udon, and Moegi ran up to Naruto, who greeted them casually. Konoha's younger shinobi noted that Naruto sounded more mature after 3 years of training. When everyone wondered who had brought them here and why, 2 figures appeared floating above the screen. One introduced herself as Shivi and the other as her friend Anshi. Gaara demanded to know their purpose. Reikage asked angrily why they had been brought here. Shivi said she had summoned them to show them the future. Anoki expressed impatience, while Anshi bristled when she was accused of blathering. Mei responded calmly that she hoped it was not a joke. Shivi insisted it was not a joke, and when asked how she could do this, Anshi added that it was simply a power they possessed. Naruto brightened at the idea of seeing the future and begged to know what Shivi would show them. Sakura punched him in the arm and told him to be quiet and let the elders decide, and Sasuke smirked and called him a loser. Kakashi stepped in to calm everyone and asked Shivi what she planned to reveal. Shivi said it would be a surprise and that they would find out while watching. A few of the younger shinobi scoffed at Anoki's sigh. With the confusion settled, the group prepared to watch whatever demonstration Shivi and Anshi had in store. A tense silence fell over the assembled ninja as the screen began to glow. Anshi suggested they should go to the old age home for the company of their generation, and everyone chuckled. Shivi glared at Anshi, who responded with a grin and made Shivi sigh. Shivi then instructed everyone to take their seats. Most of them did not believe in watching the future theory, but they agreed because they had no other option. As soon as they all sat, the screen began to play. On the screen, Naruto lay on a bed, lost in thought. Motoi explained that this island was where Naruto had trained to gain control over the 8 Tails, and a fellow host might be there to help. Naruto wondered aloud where he was. Reikage questioned why the Nine Tails Jinchuriki would be on the hidden Cloud Island. Be scolded Motoi for revealing Naruto's training. Jiraiya asked Shivi what was happening, and everyone turned to her for an answer. Shivi explained that the 4th Great Ninja War was about to begin. The room erupted in anxious murmurs. When someone asked who had declared the war, Shivi revealed that a man calling himself Madara had declared war against all 5 great nations. Obito reacted inwardly at the name Madara, and Tsunade was shocked because she believed Madara to be dead. Shivi clarified that the man in the mask had claimed the name Madara. All eyes turned toward Obito and the Akatsuki members. Kakashi asked Obito whether he was truly Madara. Obito confirmed in a deep tone that he was. Deidara, fearful, apologized for past offenses and edged away. Itachi scoffed. Karui asked why Naruto was in the Cloud Village, and the group again looked to Shivi. Shivi explained that the Akatsuki were targeting Jinchuriki, and when the war was declared the 5 nations decided to hide the remaining Jinchuriki for safety. That was why the 8 Tails and 9 Tails were in hiding. Gaara asked whether only 2 Jinchuriki remained free, and Shivi confirmed that the others had already been captured by the Akatsuki. Kankuro worried aloud, asking if the other Jinchuriki were dead. Shivi confirmed they were, except for Gaara because Lady Chiyo had saved him at the cost of her own life. The Sand Ninja looked toward Lady Chiyo with admiration. Shivi then answered Jiraiya's question about why Naruto had been summoned. She explained that the Great Elder Toad had called Naruto to reveal a prophecy that concerned him. Murmurs rippled through the room before the screen resumed. On the screen, Naruto walked to B's door and knocked. B opened it and greeted him brusquely, calling him a brat and asking whether he wanted an autograph. Naruto straightened and asked B to train him seriously, explaining that he was the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki and could not yet control it. Reikage wondered aloud why B would train Naruto. Shikaku intervened, explaining that they were allied and would have to help each other if they wanted to win against the Akatsuki, and the room fell silent as they watched. B looked into Naruto's eyes and saw only sincerity, but he refused. B explained that his brother had ordered him to take a vacation and he had no intention of giving it up. Sakura said sadly that B would not help Naruto. Kakashi comforted her with a pat on the head and told her there might be something they could not yet see. Naruto shouted that they were both Jinchuriki and begged for help. B challenged the new attitude, mocking Naruto with teasing rhymes and gestures. Naruto responded with playful dancing and teasing of his own, and his teammates laughed. B softened and began to warm up, instructing Naruto in a greeting ritual that started with a fist bump. They performed the gesture in a light-hearted exchange. Naruto then made a careless remark that angered B, and B closed his door in fury. Naruto knocked again, but the door did not open, and he left in frustration. Sakura punched him lightly, and Kakashi observed the scene with a knowing look. Sasuke smirked at Naruto's discomfort. Naruto later told Motoi about the attempt and, after learning that B had offered the first step of training with a fist bump, Motoi prepared to begin his part of the instruction. Motoi led Naruto to the waterfall of truth and instructed him to sit, close his eyes, and meditate in front of the waterfall so that he might see his true self. The others asked what the true self meant, but none of them knew for certain. Naruto sat and entered meditation. After a while, a shadow appeared within the flow of the waterfall and began asking why. The figure questioned Naruto about small, personal slights and whether he had refused to give an autograph at Ichiraku. The shadow emerged from the waterfall and took the form of Naruto but with red eyes and a terrifying expression. The children watching the screen were frightened. Konohamaru noted that the figure resembled Naruto, while Moegi called it scary. Hinata timidly asked why Naruto's eyes were red. Shikamaru suggested it might be Naruto's evil side, and several others gasped at the idea. Jiraiya explained that everyone had darker thoughts inside them and that perhaps the waterfall revealed a person's true self. The fellow standing in the waterfall, Naruto's true self, spoke of how people in the village had treated him like an outcast. Konohamaru shouted to the screen, wondering why they had treated Naruto that way. Gaara explained that it was because Naruto was a Jinchuriki, and the room fell silent. A flashback followed. In the village, a ninja asked Naruto for an autograph, saying it was for his child. Another ninja, joining in, praised Naruto as a hero of the hidden leaf and asked for his signature. Naruto blinked in surprise and asked about the autograph, clearly unaccustomed to such attention. He laughed awkwardly and explained that he was not used to that sort of thing. The flashback ended. Naruto watched the screen silently, his expression mirroring the face on the monitor. Kiba was shocked and wondered why people were asking about Naruto's autograph. Amshi explained that Pain had attacked the Leaf Village and Naruto had defeated him. Haiden reacted in disbelief, and the Akatsuki members wore the same stunned expressions except for Itachi. Konan could hardly believe how this boy had defeated Pain. Amshi added that Naruto had mastered sage techniques to do it. Tsunade asked why Naruto had, and not Jiraiya. Amshi answered sadly that Jiraiya had died in the battle with Pain and Naruto had avenged him. Everyone turned toward Jiraiya with sad faces. Jiraiya, however, clarified that he was alive now, easing their concern. Naruto hugged Jiraiya tightly and cried. Jiraiya patted Naruto's head and said he was proud that Naruto had mastered sage techniques, and teased that Naruto had become famous, autograph requests and all. Naruto hugged him tighter and laughed quietly, then sat back down. Naruto vowed with determination that he would not allow Jiraiya to die. The viewing ended. Later, the group looked back toward the screen as the scene shifted into Naruto's subconscious. In that private place, Naruto asked who the other figure was. The figure answered that he was Naruto himself, the real Naruto that existed deep inside. Naruto, confused, denied knowing him. The inner figure insisted he was the dark part of Naruto, the hatred buried inside. Yamato and Motoi could not see what was happening because it unfolded within Naruto's mind. Kakashi pointed to the screen and asked Yamato if the person there was Tenzo. Tenzo confirmed, confused about why his presence appeared in Naruto's mental landscape. Shikaku speculated that Tenzo might be there to control Naruto if he ever went on a rampage, because Tenzo used wood-style techniques. Kakashi, smiling beneath his mask, welcomed Tenzo to Team 7, and Tenzo returned the smile. The inner place called itself the Waterfall of Truth, and the version of Naruto who stood there at first joked about it before turning serious and declaring he was the true self, the precious hatred inside. The Nine Tails manifested behind him, grinning wickedly. Those who had been present during the Nine Tails attack years ago felt a chill at the sight. Hinata asked timidly why the Nine Tails favored this darker version of Naruto. Niji answered that evil tended to be drawn to evil. Hinata looked toward the real Naruto with concern. Naruto put on a forced smile and told her not to worry, but Sasuke watched him with suspicion. Naruto thought about whether hatred could really live in his heart. He recalled Jiratora's words. The Nine Tails was a mass of hatred that bound itself tightly to chakra and would find any hatred buried deep inside no matter how well one tried to shield it. Sakura turned to Kakashi to confirm, and Kakashi explained that the Nine Tails was full of hatred and could use Naruto's anger for its own ends. Jiraiya agreed. Naruto realized that to control the Nine Tails, he would have to confront that part of himself. Choji worried aloud about how Naruto could possibly defeat himself. Naruto took a stance and engaged his darker self in combat. They sparred within his subconscious, matching strength and tactics, and the clash ended without a clear victor as Naruto snapped back to reality. Choji muttered that it was exactly what he had feared. Naruto and his dark self used the same moves, so defeating him was a stalemate. Shikamaru sighed in frustration. Konohamaru urged Naruto to find a way to overcome that power. For a moment everyone fell silent, wondering how. Naruto asked Motoi about the Jinchuriki Bee, and Motoi told the story of Bee's past. After hearing about Bee and Gaara, Naruto reflected on how harshly people had treated Jinchuriki. When Gaara had become the Kazekage and later defeated Pain, attitudes toward him had changed. Ino voiced anger at how children had been treated. Rashi explained this was the fate of many-tailed beast hosts. Fu shrugged that people considered them monsters and authorities considered them weapons. Utakata offered a sad smile and reminded everyone that children did not choose to become hosts. The group bowed their heads at Utakata's words. In the shadows, Obito thought about his plan for an infinite moon illusion. Naruto sat on a pointed stone lost in thought and reviewed how much trust he had earned. Irika, his teacher, his comrades, and others. He remembered the taunting words of his darker self and opened his eyes with a hurt expression. Irika reached out and patted Naruto's head, assuring him he was not alone. Sakura smiled and reminded Naruto that they were his friends. Choji passed some food to Naruto as a friendly gesture. Gaara stated that Naruto had his friendship as well, and Kankuro and Temari offered supportive looks. Kakashi placed a hand on Naruto's head reassuringly. Sujetsu teased Sasuke not to deny his friends, and Sasuke answered with a gruff refusal. Naruto thanked everyone, looking at them gratefully. Lee and Guy traded enthusiastic encouragement and youthful energy, causing the others to smile and shake their heads. Tenten had to step in to calm them down and keep their focus. Back in the Waterfall of Truth, Naruto closed his eyes and the darker mirror of himself reappeared with a cruel grin, taunting him. Naruto realized that simply trying to overpower that part of himself would not work because they shared the same strengths and techniques. The confrontation continued, unresolved, as Naruto searched for another path. Evil Naruto claimed he knew the other Naruto better than anyone else. Naruto replied that the other already knew what he had decided earlier. Evil Naruto questioned what that was, and Naruto explained that this place revealed the truth in one's heart, so he would concentrate and show the image directly. Shizen wondered aloud what Naruto was planning. Kakashi said with amusement that they would learn their unpredictable ninja's plan soon. Naruto focused and projected an image of himself as a Hokage candidate, which startled Evil Naruto. Naruto smiled and explained that it was his autograph. Everyone in the hall smiled. Sasuke gave a small, unnoticed smile and thought curtly to himself. Evil Naruto growled and called Naruto a traitor. Naruto said that earlier at Ichiraku he had not been able to give the autograph, but now he could. Evil Naruto scoffed that no one cared, insisting the villagers only sweet-talked him, lied, made rules, and treated them as outcasts. He asked Naruto if he remembered. A flashback of Naruto's childhood played. The visitors lowered their heads in shame. Hayashi apologized for what had happened, and the others nodded with regret. Naruto gave a thumbs up with a fox-like grin and said it was all right. Sasuke wondered how Naruto could forgive everyone so easily. Itachi offered a small, unnoticed smile. Evil Naruto gripped his jacket and insisted it had been hard and painful, that he was the only one who could understand Naruto, and warned him not to trust anyone in the village. Naruto answered that while the villagers were important, he had to trust himself first. He had to believe in the version of himself the villagers trusted. Asuma agreed that trusting oneself was important. Evil Naruto dropped to his knees and cried at the memory of what they had been through. Hinata glanced at Naruto with concern. Naruto reflected that meeting the octopus had shown him someone who never doubted himself and who had pride. Killer Bee, with playful swagger, declared that he had pride as well and that he was the best rapper. The Raikage tapped Bee on the head in mock reprimand and everyone chuckled. Darui sighed. Evil Naruto demanded whether the others saw him as a burden and angrily asked what he was supposed to do now. Naruto replied that he had become strong because Evil Naruto had existed. Thanks to him, Naruto had come this far. When Evil Naruto lunged in attack, Naruto embraced him and told him that the answer was simple. He should become part of Naruto, because they were the same. Naruto thanked him for everything up to that day, promised it would be all right, and with that Evil Naruto faded away. Kiba watched in disbelief and said that Naruto had defeated his darkness. Sakura showed excitement and congratulated Naruto. Itachi acknowledged it quietly. Hayden shouted that he did not want a massacre, drawing disgusted looks from the group. Konan remarked on how remarkable Naruto was. Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Irika said together that they were proud of Naruto and chuckled. Kanomaru, Udon, and Moegi called him a great leader. Naruto offered a sly, fox-like grin to everyone. The praise continued. Ino asked whether the training was over and whether Naruto could now control the Nine Tails. B explained that the main part of the training was only just beginning. Kakashi asked what the main part meant, but his question was interrupted when Choji suddenly cried out that his chips were finished. Asuma sighed and tried to reassure him. Choji complained that he was hungry, and Choja agreed. Shivi stepped in and explained that if someone felt hungry they only needed to imagine the food and it would appear. She also pointed out the washroom and restroom locations. Naruto, excited, thought of ramen and a bowl immediately appeared in his hand. Danzo, shocked, asked what technique made that happen. Shivi replied that it was not a technique but a kind of magic. Anoki protested that there was no such thing as magic, while Deidara scoffed that it had happened right before their eyes. Anoki glared and Deidara shrugged. Shivi then asked everyone to look at the screen. The assembly watched as Naruto opened his eyes and smiled. B smiled back. B announced in a lively rap that from this moment he would be their instructor and that they should be prepared for a harsh challenge. Naruto responded with excitement. B led Naruto and Yamato toward a waterfall, and they stepped through to reveal an ancient place carved into stone. Naruto's eyes widened in awe. B told them that Naruto would face the Nine Tails here. The others reacted with shock and concern. Naruto asked how he was supposed to fight the Nine Tails and sounded frightened at the thought. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The Raikage explained calmly that to control the Nine Tails' power, Naruto would have to confront it. Kurenai expressed worry. Jiraiya, proud, urged everyone to trust Naruto's unpredictability. Tsunade offered a supportive smile. They reached an ancient structure carved in the shape of a lion. B explained that the site had been created for the purification ceremony of tailed beast hosts, a place where a host could speak to their tailed beast in a special way. B said that only the chosen could enter and describe the selection process. A person would place their head into the statue's mouth, and if there was no darkness in their heart, the door would open fully. Yamato asked for clarification, and Naruto admitted he did not understand either. Tenten teased B about his rap style. B replied that rapping was his way of speaking. The Raikage reacted with an exasperated gesture. Shikamaru murmured about the phrase, "no darkness in your heart." When Choji asked what Shikamaru was thinking, Shikamaru dismissed it. Naruto wondered aloud about the connection to the waterfall. Be warned that if even a small trace of darkness remained, the doors would not open and the ceremony would reject the candidate in a dramatic but non-graphic way. He explained that the damaged statues they had seen along the way marked past hosts who had not been sincere. Naruto recalled his earlier confrontation with his darker self and swallowed in fear. Sakura said the trial sounded too risky, and Sasuke agreed. Karen looked at Sasuke with wide eyes, and Orochimaru observed to himself that Sasuke still cared about his teammates. Shikamaru suggested that Naruto use a shadow clone technique first to test the trial. The others agreed that this would be a sensible precaution. Yamato agreed and urged Naruto to use a clone. B reminded them that the place was sacred and guarded by the generations of the hidden cloud ancestors. The group prepared themselves for the next phase of Naruto's ritual and awaited what would happen when he entered the lion-shaped mouth. Kakashi said that tricks like that would not work. One of Naruto's friends voiced worry. Kakashi said there was no option except taking a risk. Some agreed. Yamato began to speak, but Naruto cut him off and said determinedly that he had come to learn to control the Nine Tails' power and could not run away. Hinata timidly warned that it was risky. Naruto reassured Hinata while hiding his fear. The Konoha girls smiled at the exchange. Sasuke was confused by Sakura's smile. Karen noticed Sasuke stealing glances at Sakura and felt a twinge of jealousy. Itachi noticed as well and smiled, his face partly hidden in his collar. Naruto moved toward a statue and shoved his head into its mouth, then emerged screaming as the illusion made his head appear to vanish, which panicked Yamato. Everyone gasped. Naruto then lowered his jacket and revealed his head with a laugh, explaining it had been a joke and there was just a switch. He said he had done the same out of habit and called the statues broken, speaking in a playful rhythm. Yamato scolded them with exaggerated exasperation. Sakura smacked Naruto's head and rebuked him for joking. Naruto complained that it was his future self's habit as he rubbed his head. Sasuke scoffed. Yamato looked at the screen in disbelief and wondered how he was stuck between the two. Kakashi patted his shoulder and said that things like this happened when one was with Naruto. The Raikage also thumped B's head and called him an idiot. Everyone sighed at the antics of the two-tailed beast hosts. A hidden door slid open between the walls, revealing an empty, colorful space that looked like a fairyland of pink and purple. Everyone exclaimed at the sight. Ino squealed at its beauty, and Tenten agreed that it looked like another world. B explained that he had to meet Naruto in Naruto's subconscious and that Naruto should open the seal so they could fight there. Naruto agreed. B and Naruto sat facing each other on the floor and joined their fists, with Yamato standing across from them. Hinata asked nervously what they were doing. Sujetsu shrugged and suggested they might simply be resting. Karen punched him and he turned into water, which drew a glare from Sasuke. Rashi explained that Naruto had to focus to reach his subconscious, so he was meditating. Han suggested that B also wanted to enter Naruto's subconscious, which was why he joined hands. Everyone agreed. Naruto closed his eyes and reached into his subconscious. When he opened them, the Nine Tails glared at him. A shiver ran through everyone at that stare. Naruto greeted the Nine Tails with a sassy tone, treating the beast's glare as something familiar. Kiba asked fearfully whether Naruto was not afraid and what he meant by saying it was, as usual. Naruto explained casually that he often met the Nine Tails in his subconscious and that the beast always gave him that same glare in his usual tone. Everyone looked at him with wide eyes. Sujetsu, hiding behind Sasuke, noted that the nine tails looked dangerous. Others agreed that it was powerful. Conan observed that it was the most powerful tailed beast, and Fu added that it was rude and distrustful of humans compared to the others. Obito thought that he had to capture the nine tails before Naruto learned to control its power, because it was important for his plan. The nine tails growled and demanded to know what Naruto was doing. Naruto rose to meet the beast at eye level and asked what was wrong. The nine tails said it could not sense the real Naruto and seemed to be referring to a darker presence. Naruto replied that he was right there. Kiba laughed that the nine tails seemed to prefer the darker version of Naruto, and his sisters smacked him for teasing. He warned Naruto not to relax, reminding him that the nine tails embodied deep hatred and that he had to do his best. Naruto reached the seal and lifted his jacket to show the mark on his stomach. The nine tails narrowed its eyes and demanded to know his intent. Naruto put the edge of his jacket in his mouth and pretended his mouth was full, prompting Shikamaru to remark that Naruto had guts. Naruto said he was used to talking to the beast that way, surprising everyone. A key appeared in Naruto's hand. He used it to open the seal and freed the nine tails. The beast burst from its cage in fury and released a powerful roar that shoved Naruto back with its force. Everyone flinched at the sound. Memories from 16 years earlier flashed before the people of Konoha. Konomaru, Udon, and Moegi cowered behind Naruto. Shizune asked what would happen if the nine tails truly got free. The Raikage said they could capture it in the specially prepared place. Danzo reacted angrily, saying that the nine tails would go under a hidden cloud and questioning why the tailed beast hosts had been sent if no one trusted them. Darui, offended, asked why they had been sent if they would not be trusted. Danzo blamed Tsunade for the decision. Gaara spoke loudly that in times of war the five nations needed to stand together and trust one another, and everyone fell silent. Be advised that when the nine tails emerged they should grab its chakra with their own chakra and pull it away. He explained that chakra could only be stopped by chakra and that taking the nine tails' chakra would allow them to contend with it. The eight tails extended its tentacles to grasp the nine tails as a demonstration. Be explained that touching the beast directly and attaching their chakra to its chakra would create a tug-of-war. He attempted to pull the nine tails' chakra to show how it worked, but the nine tails cut through the tentacles with a fierce swipe and screamed in fury. Konohamaru, hiding behind Naruto, noted that the nine tails was powerful. He said he would help Naruto in the fight but admitted that inside Naruto's head he had no influence. Everyone understood B's limitation. The nine tails accused Naruto of intending to control its power and of allying with the eight tails. It taunted the idea of Naruto as its host and unleashed a powerful energy attack while raising all its tails. Sakura asked if the beast was angry because Naruto had enlisted the eight tails' help, and Kakashi agreed that might be the case. Yudakata added that the nine tails disliked other tailed beasts as well, and no one knew why. The nine tails inhaled, smoke billowed from its maw, and it unleashed a large fireball toward Naruto. Before the attack reached Naruto, the eight tails intervened to protect him. Naruto entered Sage mode and formed a giant Rasengan, but it failed to affect the opponent. The opponent trapped Naruto beneath his palm and taunted him about whether he thought he could win. Naruto struggled and insisted he would not have tried to break the seal otherwise, then used a shadow clone to disappear. The real Naruto grabbed the opponent's tail, pushed, and forced the nine tails onto its back. Naruto then used a wind-based Rasengan technique to shrink and begin siphoning the beast's chakra, and a fierce exchange began between them. Tsunade observed that Naruto had accomplished the feat Kakashi called the battle unbelievable while Guy noted that Kakashi's Sharingan was active. Jiraiya reacted with wide eyes at Naruto's Sage mode. Obito exclaimed that the boy was powerful, and Itachi agreed. The nine tails began to pour waves of hatred into Naruto's mind. Negative memories and thoughts flooded him, and he started to turn dark as childhood pains replayed in a more horrifying way. The cloak of chakra began forming around Naruto, and Killer Bee distanced himself. Naruto, in pain, ordered the sensation to go away. From the monitors, Rock Lee urged Naruto to fight and not let the nine tails win. Neji begged him not to lose his will. Choji reminded him that they were his friends and that he should not let those thoughts consume him. Naruto, determined, promised to try and to fight for the future. Tsunade glared at Danzo and blamed them for the Nine Tails' control over Naruto. Jiraiya said that if they had not treated him differently from others, he might not carry such pain in his heart, and the group fell silent with bowed heads. A soothing voice told Naruto that he could not stay where he was. Sakura wondered who the voice belonged to, and Sasuke questioned why a woman would appear in Naruto's subconscious. Kakashi and Obito both tried to recognize the voice. Naruto moved to the bright side of his subconscious and found a red-haired woman standing before him. Jiraiya reacted with shock when he realized who she was. On the monitors, Naruto reacted to the woman's appearance with surprise and admiration. Kakashi identified her as Kushina Uzumaki, the wife of the fourth Hokage. Temari expressed disbelief at Kushina's presence in Naruto's subconscious, and Shikamaru complained that the training had become a real drag. Temari scoffed at him, and Shikaku nodded in agreement. Gaara wondered aloud whether she was supposed to be dead. Kakashi pointed out that they still did not fully understand the tetragram seal or how it functioned. The discussion ended and everyone turned their attention back to the screen. Kushina called Naruto by name, and Naruto immediately bombarded her with questions, asking who she was, what she was doing there, where she had come from, and how she knew his name. Kiba mocked the flood of questions, and Naruto said he was only shocked. Sasuke stepped in to defend Naruto, which surprised the others. Naruto attempted to go hug Sasuke, but Sasuke drew his sword, prompting Naruto to hide behind Kakashi. Some of the observers chuckled at the antics, and Itachi smiled quietly. Kushina asked Naruto to guess who she was. Naruto insisted he could not know. When he guessed wildly that she might be the Nine Tails' true form, Kushina laughed and told him he was wrong. Iruka and others expressed relief that Naruto did not actually believe the Nine Tails would take the form of a beautiful woman. Kushina explained that she tended to talk fast and use odd phrases when excited, admitting to impatience and laughing about it. She asked if Naruto had picked up any of her speech patterns, and the idea that Naruto sounded like her made Kiba and others react. Shikamaru's eyes widened as he recognized something important. Kushina's mannerisms and words made it clear to some of the observers that Naruto shared a deeper connection with the fourth Hokage. Obito's realization that Naruto was the fourth son spread through the room. The fourth and Kushina had sacrificed their child that day. Minato's name was mentioned, and Kushina teased him for being a bit too quiet. Realization struck Naruto hard. His lower lip trembled and tears began to well in his eyes. Kushina started to speak, but before she could finish, Naruto threw himself at her and hugged her, shaking and weeping. Naruto called her mother, and everyone in the room reacted with shock except those already aware of the truth. Neji immediately asked whether that meant Naruto was the son of the fourth Hokage, and Hayashi confirmed it. Hinata asked her father quietly if he had known, and he replied that many people did. Jiraiya listed those who had known the truth: he, Tsunade, Kakashi, Shikamaru, Inoichi, Hayashi, Danzo, the elders, and the third Hokage. Naruto demanded to know why no one had told him when he had asked about his parents. He accused them of abandoning him and said he had thought they hated him because he was a monster. As his anger rose, his eyes shifted and a red chakra began to surge around him. Fear spread through the observers as Naruto's friends tried to calm him, but nothing worked. Jiraiya quickly applied a sealing technique to Naruto's head, and the Nine Tails chakra receded. Once Naruto came back to himself, he sobbed openly. Tears filled the room, but most people did not approach, some out of fear, some out of guilt, and some unsure how to comfort him. Hinata moved forward and gently placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Neji feared that Naruto had hurt Hinata, but before he could react, Naruto moved close to Hinata, seeking comfort. Naruto sat on a chair while Hinata stood in front of him, and he bowed his head and cried. Naruto complained like a child, saying that everyone had been lying to him. Everyone watched with pity in their eyes, and even some members of the Akatsuki softened. Hinata tried to explain that the lies had been meant to protect him. If anyone knew he was the fourth Hokage's son, his life could be in danger. Hayashi was stunned to see that Hinata did not stutter as she spoke. Naruto did not react at first, But after a while he nodded in understanding and stepped back. Hinata realized their position and blushed. Naruto then apologized to everyone in his usual cheerful way. Naruto announced that he needed to listen to his mother and himself talk, pretending excitement. No one objected given the heavy atmosphere. He then said that there were many things he wanted to ask his mother when they met. Kushina replied that first they had to tame the 9 tails. Naruto struggled, and chakra manifested to restrain the 9 tails. The beast roared at Kushina about the unfamiliar chakra, and Moegi exclaimed that they had captured the 9 tails, which brought smiles from the others. Later, Naruto and Kushina sat side by side. Kushina explained that Minato had embedded her chakra into the sealing formula so that, when the time came, Naruto could take control of the 9 tails' power, and she had been unable to help directly. Naruto listened, grinning. Kushina chuckled and asked whether he was listening, and Naruto admitted, bashful and playful, that he could not get over how beautiful she was. The others smiled at their conversation. Kushina laughed and remarked that his hair was like his father's, and teased that he had inherited her looks. Naruto responded that inheriting his mother's looks made him handsome. He even imagined himself with bright red hair, and Udon complimented the idea enthusiastically. Naruto flashed a thumbs up in reply. Guy noticed that Kakashi had gone quiet and expressed concern. Kakashi assured everyone he was fine and that many memories were running through his mind. Guy comforted him with his familiar encouragement that the power of youth was still with him. Kushina teased that Kakashi was the second man to compliment her red hair. When Kakashi asked who the first had been, Naruto realized it had been his father, Minato, and laughed. Naruto, excited, asked Kushina how she and his father had fallen in love. Kushina, shy and flustered at the question, admitted that it was an embarrassing story. Naruto teased her and she flustered more, repeating a phrase that made Naruto laugh and caused her to blush. The light-hearted moment drew smiles from the group. Ino suddenly interrupted to grab everyone's attention and announced that they were about to watch a love story, so she would get popcorn. The others reacted with varying degrees of amusement and exasperation, and they settled in to watch the story of the yellow flash of the leaf. Flashback. At the Hidden Leaf Academy, the teacher announced the arrival of a new transfer student. Kushina introduced herself, proud and lively, but other students teased her about her red hair, and she felt sad. Those watching the flashback reacted. Naruto shouted at the screen in protest on Kushina's behalf, and Kiba mocked that he was talking to the screen. Jiraiya reminded Naruto that it was the past and there was nothing they could do about it, which left Naruto sulking briefly. The academy teacher quieted the class. Kushina declared she would become the village's first female Hokage, and Minato declared his own dream of becoming a great Hokage admired by everyone in the village. Iruka remarked that Naruto had the same dream as his parents, and Naruto confidently affirmed his determination, though Iruka scolded him to study because the fourth Hokage had been a genius. Naruto protested that he was a genius too, and Iruka challenged him to recite the fourth ninja rule, which left Naruto trailing off. Some boys taunted Kushina with the nickname Tomato and mocked her round, red face, claiming no tomato could become Hokage. Elders watching the scene shook their heads at the cruelty of teasing. Sasuke, unnoticed, wondered inwardly how anyone could dislike tomatoes, and Itachi chuckled quietly at his brother's thought. Kushina insisted that she had always stood up to the bullies and turned the tables on them. A young Kushina confronted the boys, her boldness leaving them stunned, and Minato looked on and laughed. The men joked that every husband feared his wife, and the others agreed, earning glares from their wives. Kushina laughed about earning the nickname, the Red-Hot Habanero, for her fierce spirit. Naruto, watching, connected pieces of the past and guessed that Minato had intervened at some point, but Kushina corrected him, explaining that she had handled the bullies herself. The group teased one another about admitting who had been right. Some admitted embarrassment at the idea that future selves could reveal thoughts aloud. Temari and Karui worried about the consequences of shared thoughts, and they asked Shivi to stop broadcasting everyone's inner voices. Shivi replied that it was important for showing fights, which brought a mixture of understanding and apprehension from the others. The flashback closed with an image of Kushina running beneath blossom trees, her long red hair streaming behind her as she moved with determination. A young genin slipped behind the tree. He was the brother of the boy Kushina had earlier beaten. Kushina engaged them and quickly defeated them. Kushina angrily told Minato, who was perched in a tree, that he could not help because she was an outsider. Before Minato could respond, Kushina ran away. Kakuzu remarked with a cynical tone that 2 encounters and 2 fights made for quite a story. Jiraiya, offended, pointed out that they were just children. Naruto glared at Kakuzu, and Kakuzu merely shrugged. Haiden proclaimed that he wanted merciless fights and that his god would be pleased. Asuma expressed disgust at the Akatsuki. Shikamaru thought to himself that he did not like the man in question. Kushina smiled and said that she used to hate her hair, but that a certain incident had changed how she felt about it. One of the Konoha 12 asked curiously what incident she meant. Jiraiya answered, with his usual grin that they would see if they watched further. Tsunade acknowledged that Jiraiya knew the story. Kushina returned home after a mission and moved toward the living room, only to find enemy shinobi already there. They kidnapped her. To leave a trail without the kidnappers noticing, Kushina quietly cut pieces of her hair and dropped them along the way. Shikamaru observed that it was a clever move, because only she had that particular hair and the search team would notice. Choji agreed. Ino hoped that the 4th Hokage would come to her rescue, and the other girls shared the excitement, with Konan and Temari remaining neutral. The boys reacted with a mix of worry and interest. Minato suddenly entered and swiftly dispatched the kidnappers, leaving them unconscious. All the girls cheered. Tenten commented dreamily that Minato was like a prince, and Niji, in disbelief, asked if Tenten was interested in such things. Tenten shrugged that she was also a girl, and Niji sighed. Minato checked on Kushina's condition, then lifted her easily into his arms. Kushina was startled at first, then composed herself. Minato leapt gracefully so that they were framed against the moon, and Kushina found herself captivated by his features in the moonlight. The women in the hall blushed at the sight. Shikamaru's mother remarked that Minato was truly handsome, which embarrassed Shikaku when she added that she was only stating facts. Everyone laughed. Kushina noticed strands of her hair in Minato's hand and exclaimed that it was her hair. Minato told her that her hair was beautiful and that he had noticed it right away. Kakashi commented that something significant was coming. Kurenai, excited, suggested it would be a confession. Guy enthusiastically said that it was exciting to witness their sensei's confession of love. Naruto smiled brightly, determined not to miss any moment of his parents' exchange. Kushina turned her face and complained that Minato had always ignored her. Minato explained that he had known she was strong in body and spirit, but that this was a different kind of fight between villages, which was why he had come. When Kushina asked why, Minato answered that he did not want to lose her. Kushina protested that she was an outsider, and Minato replied that living in the village made her one of them. The flashback ended. Everyone smiled except for some members of the Akatsuki and Danzo. Words failed them. Couples unintentionally drew closer. Hinata looked at Naruto and wondered quietly if such a moment could come into their lives. Naruto's eyes filled with happy tears. Sakura glanced at Sasuke. Their eyes met briefly before Sasuke broke the eye contact, causing Sakura to feel hurt. Temari looked at Shikamaru and sighed at his bored expression. Ino joked that if her man was not going to propose, she would be the one to reject him, and everyone laughed, breaking the romantic spell. Kushina reflected that in that moment Minato had seemed a great ninja and the man of her dreams. He had changed her. The red hair she had once hated had led her to him and become, in her mind, a red thread of fate. She had learned to love her hair and had fallen in love with Minato. Kushina told Naruto that she loved him. Naruto was surprised, then replied that he loved her too. Kushina poked his stomach playfully and remarked, with a smile, that she wondered what would happen when the yellow flash of the leaf and a red-hot habanero were combined. Naruto, determined, said that together they would become the Hidden Leaf's Orange Hokage. Kushina told him that his dream was the continuation of hers and Minato's, and Naruto vowed that he would not let their dreams down. Iruka reminded him that he had to study for that, and Naruto accepted the reminder with a smile. The scene shifted. Naruto battled the Nine Tails, holding Kushina's words in mind. He overcame his hatred and regained control of himself. Using multiple powerful Rasengan, Naruto forced the Nine Tails back and sealed off a portion of its chakra. The Nine Tails reacted with fury and began to gather a massive energy attack, but Naruto reinforced the seal in time. Rock Lee and others celebrated that Naruto had gained control over some of the Nine Tails chakra. The people of Konoha were proud, while members of other villages viewed the display with unease. The Akatsuki were furious, with the exception of Itachi, who remained inscrutable. Naruto returned to Kushina and asked his mother, with sadness, what she intended to do. Kushina replied that the time had come for her to join Minato, but that before she left she wanted to tell him something important, the truth about the day he was born, 16 years ago. Shikamaru and others expressed interest in learning what had happened and why the fourth Hokage had sealed the Nine Tails into his own son. Naruto asked for clarification about what Kushina meant by 16 years ago. Kushina revealed that she had been the Nine Tails Jinchuriki before him. The younger generation reacted with shock. Niji asked how the Nine Tails had been set free if Kushina had been the Jinchuriki. Naruto echoed the question, incredulous. Kushina confirmed that she had been the Jinchuriki and said that before she explained the events of that night 16 years ago, she needed to tell them more about herself. Karen explained that she had been chosen as the second host of the Nine Tails. The only reason she had come to the Hidden Leaf had been to become a tailed beast host. Naruto asked why they had chosen her to be the host. Karen answered that she was an Uzumaki, a clan famed for sealing techniques and for having great reserves of chakra needed to suppress a tailed beast. Karen asked whether an Uzumaki could really have more chakra than a tailed beast. Kakashi replied that it was true in part. Naruto used some of his chakra to hold the Nine Tails in check, but his chakra level was still several times greater than Karen's, which surprised everyone. Karen thought to herself that this meant she was strong, then she told them everything about how she had become a host. After listening, Naruto asked what had happened with the incident 16 years earlier if the Nine Tails had been sealed inside her. Gaara echoed that question. Kankuro suggested that someone might have extracted the Nine Tails chakra from her, while Guy pointed out that the tetragram seal was very strong. Kakashi said there was a weakness, and Sakura asked what it was. Kakashi said they would learn soon enough. Flashback. The Namikaze household was shown. A doctor informed Kushina that her due date was October 10th. Kushina was overjoyed and told Minato about the PRDSY. Days passed happily. As the DLVRY approached, the third Hokage and his wife visited Kushina to explain that she would need to give birth somewhere secure because the seal would be at its weakest during DLVRY and accidents could happen. Sakura concluded that this was the weakness. Shikamaru asked whether a male host would have no weak point in the seal, and Asuma confirmed that Shikamaru's reasoning was correct, smiling proudly at his student. On the day of DLVRY, Kushina went toward the safe place and met Mikoto, who was holding a baby. Kushina was surprised to see the child and excitedly assumed it was a girl. Mikoto corrected her that it was a boy named Sasuke. Kushina greeted the baby warmly and called him cute. Karen remarked that it was hard to imagine Sasuke had ever been cute. Sujetsu teased, receiving a playful punch that caused him to dissolve into a flow of water. Orochimaru chuckled and Sasuke glared. Iwako noted that the boy had been named after an ancestor, admiring the baby. Mikoto asked Kushina if she was also thinking of a baby name. Kushina said she had already decided. They would name their son Naruto and hoped Naruto and Sasuke would become classmates and get along. The infants seemed to respond in ways that delighted their parents. When Naruto and Sasuke bickered, Naruto insisted everyone needed friends and Sasuke could only scoff. Kakashi watched the familiar banter with a gentle smile. Yugo, Karen, and Suigetsu were surprised to see Sasuke like this, and Itachi smiled quietly. Kushina whispered nervously to Mikoto, asking if childbirth really hurt. Mikoto gave an encouraging, slightly nervous smile, and the other mothers reassured their children. Kiba's mother teased that there was finally something Mikoto feared. Choji asked his mother if it really hurt, and she admitted it did, but said it was worth the result. Iwako pulled Kushina close and scolded her gently for being careless. Kushina offered an embarrassed grin. Later, in an isolated place, Kushina's cries of labor were heard. Minato was worried, Naruto, watching, felt guilty and complained about how much pain his mother endured because of him. Jiraiya put a hand on his shoulder to calm him. The other children held their mother's hands tightly, worry plain on their faces. The Wako urged everyone to focus on the Nine-Tails seal. After some time, Kushina let out a final scream and the cry of a newborn filled the air. The Wako announced that it was a boy. She wrapped the baby in a small white cloth and handed him to Minato. Minato gazed at his son with tears and named him Naruto. Kushina smiled weakly and said he was beautiful. Everyone embraced their mothers and shared quiet, fragile moments of happiness, but the peace did not last. A masked man burst into the room, a strange, crimson glow in one of his eyes. He moved with sudden, ruthless speed and quickly overwhelmed the defenses, incapacitating several people and seizing the newborn Naruto. He pressed a kunai close to the baby to threaten Minato and demanded compliance. The arrival of the attacker shocked everyone. Kankuro pointed and questioned how someone could do such a thing to a newborn. Obito, the masked man, did not seem to care. Reikage, furious, reacted by smashing a nearby table. Minato reacted instantly, moving at lightning speed to snatch Naruto free. He then noticed explosive tags attached to the blanket. Realizing the danger, he threw the blanket with the tags away and teleported both himself and the child to a safe location. Naruto watched the scene and leapt with excitement, proud of his father's speed. Others worried about Kushina, who had been left behind, and Neji voiced that concern. Naruto pleaded for his father to save his mother as he watched the events unfold. The masked man seized Kushina and broke part of the seal that bound the Nine Tails, freeing the beast. The attacker prepared to strike, but Minato suddenly reappeared and intervened, engaging the unleashed power and working to protect Kushina. A tense and chaotic battle followed in rapid, dramatic motions, fought like an intense, stylized confrontation scene in an anime. The combatants moved with incredible speed and skill, and the fight unfolded without graphic detail. Minato and the others focused on containing and defending against the Nine-Tails release while trying to protect those still in danger. A short bridge of calmer moments followed as the scene shifted and the story continued. Minato teleported himself to where Naruto was, laid Kushina beside their son, donned the village leader cloak, and prepared to fight. Haydn announced that a fierce battle was about to begin and that it would be brutal. Everyone reacted to his excitement with disgust. The Nine-Tails wreaked havoc through the village. When the beast launched a massive energy attack toward the monument of the village leaders, Minato intercepted the blast and teleported it away from the village. Many ninja watched in stunned admiration as something so enormous was redirected without a trace of damage to the village. Mei spoke of her amazement at the display of power. Inoki called the fourth village leader a true hero. Jiraiya, proud, reminded those present that Minato had been an exceptionally talented student. The younger generation looked on with starry-eyed admiration for the previous village leaders. As Minato considered a strategy, Obito appeared behind him. Minato reacted swiftly and struck with a kunai that passed through Obito as if he were insubstantial. Confused, Minato barely had time to move before Obito grabbed his hand and attempted to pull him inward using a space-time transport technique, but Minato teleported away. Kisame remarked on Minato's speed. Itachi noted that this was why Minato was known as the Yellow Flash. Minato thought that his attack had passed through Obito because Obito made himself intangible, then solidified to try to pull him in. When Obito reappeared before him and mocked that Minato would not escape, those watching realized that Obito used a space-time transport technique to move and to grab people, and that he had once defeated the ANBU Black Ops assigned to him, undone the Nine-Tails seal, and tamed the beast. Minato recalled that there had been a shinobi of great power who had done similar things, Madara Uchiha. Shikamaru observed that Obito had revealed his identity quickly. Tsunade affirmed that Obito had been a genius. Lee expressed his excitement at witnessing such a formidable opponent. The fight resumed. Time and again Minato's attacks passed through Obito's intangibility until finally Minato managed to land a strike with his spinning sphere technique and tried to separate the Nine-Tails from Obito. The attempt failed and Obito fled. Naruto accused Obito of running away and asked if he was afraid. Naruto lunged to punch Obito, but Kakashi intervened and held him back. On another front, the Ninetales prepared to use a massive energy attack. Minato summoned an allied toad to intercept and block the attack. Naruto reacted in shock when he realized that the summon creature had come to help because Minato had once been the toad summon's partner. Jiraiya tapped Naruto's head in a fond, familiar gesture, and Naruto rubbed his head sheepishly. Minato teleported with the Ninetales and Kushina away from the village. Kushina deployed a sealing technique that formed chakra chains to bind the beast. She told Minato that she intended to sacrifice herself to contain the Ninetales. Those nearby asked what type of technique she had used. Jiraiya explained that it was an Uzumaki clan sealing technique in which chains of chakra were formed to capture tailed beasts. When others asked what she meant by sacrifice, Asuma clarified that if Kushina sealed the Ninetales and gave her life in the process, the beast might perish with her. Minato refused to accept that fate and insisted on sealing the Ninetales with the Reaper Death Seal. After a tense discussion, they agreed on a plan to divide the seal. Half of the Ninetales chakra would be placed within Naruto and the other half would be sealed by Minato. Kiba reacted with shock to the idea that Naruto would inherit half of the Ninetales chakra. Jiraiya admitted that this information was new to many of them. Karui shuddered at the thought of how powerful the full Ninetales must be. When the Ninetales learned that it was about to be sealed into a child, it lunged to kill Naruto. Kushina stepped between the beast and her son to protect him. Naruto cried out for his parents. The assembled ninja covered their mouths in horror. Jiraiya held Naruto and embraced him in a protective hug. Gaara stated sadly that the pair had died on the same day their son was born. Kuratsuchi, fighting tears, noted that they had not been given the chance to spend even a single day with their child. Akatsuki reflected on the many sacrifices in the ninja world. Kakashi could not bear to watch and turned his face away. Sakura moved to Naruto and rested a hand on his shoulder. Sasuke, worried for his friend, hid his concern beneath a reserved expression. Minato asked Kushina for any last words for Naruto. Kushina urged Naruto to eat well and grow strong. Naruto insisted that he ate a lot already and promised to eat healthier food from now on, mentioning that one of his teachers often brought vegetables and that he would try not to throw tantrums about it. Those listening smiled through their tears. Kushina reminded Naruto to bathe every day and to stay warm. Naruto replied that he liked to bathe and would keep himself warm. She told him to get plenty of sleep. Naruto admitted that he did sleep a lot. They all laughed softly through their tears. Kushina advised Naruto to make friends, not necessarily many, but a few he could truly trust. Naruto assured her that he had many trustworthy friends, and his friends nodded in agreement. She urged him to study and practice his ninja techniques diligently, reminding him that everyone had strengths and weaknesses and not to become discouraged. She told him to respect his teachers and upperclassmen. Naruto confessed that he was not good at studying but promised to work hard, trusting Iruka to help him. He promised not to become overly depressed because his friends would support him. Kushina spoke about practical cautions for a shinobi: be careful with lending and borrowing money and put mission wages into savings. Naruto said he would take care of his money and mentioned that his mentors sometimes teased him about it. The reply prompted Tsunade to scold Jiraiya for taking advantage of the situation, and she gave him a firm, exasperated reprimand that left him protesting. Kushina warned Naruto to avoid excessive drinking until adulthood for the sake of his health. Naruto agreed and gave a thumbs up. Kushina then spoke about relationships, saying it was normal to be interested in others but to be careful about giving one's heart away and to seek someone who shared her values. Naruto said he did not fully understand that yet but would remember her words. She ended with a final charge. Naruto would face many hardships, and he must always be true to himself. Minato and Kushina gave their love and blessings to their son, hoping he would live strongly and carry their hearts with him. Naruto remembered being told to have a dream and the confidence to make it come true. He told his mother that he had faced many problems but would never give up and that he intended to become Hokage, asking her to believe in him. Kushina replied that there was so much she wanted to share and that she wished she could stay longer. She told him she loved him. Minato answered that he loved her as well. After that, a sob escaped Naruto and he clung briefly to Jiraiya. Then Minato performed the hand signs and sealed half of the 9 tails into Naruto. Back in the present, Kushina's image faded from Naruto's mind. Naruto opened his eyes and gave a thumbs up to Yamato and B. B then offered to teach Naruto how to control the tailed beast. The people of Konoha reacted with surprise. The Raikage questioned B about his intentions. B explained that Minato had sealed the 9 tails into Naruto because he knew that Naruto would need that power in the future to stop Madara, and since Madara threatened the whole world, B intended to prepare Naruto for that fight. Karui suggested that, since their enemy was the same, the nations should form an alliance. Many agreed. Anoki asked Tsunade for her opinion. Tsunade accepted without hesitation. Mei declared that they would all be allied from that point forward, and everyone consented. B asked Naruto if he would come with him to begin training, and Naruto excitedly agreed, calling B his nickname Octopops. When Naruto's training was complete, Shivi announced that she would show everyone another possible future. Ino asked what they would be watching, and Angshi said they would take a break from heavy emotions and look at some photographs. Tenda asked whose photographs they were. Shivi and Angshi teased that the first set would be of Team Kakashi and that one would feature a future couple. Some attendees protested that they were not interested, but Angshi insisted they would be once they saw the couple. Ino said it would be a fun break, and the group agreed. Shivi put the first image on the screen. The picture showed Sasuke smiling. Sujetsu reacted with surprise, and Karen playfully swatted him. Sujetsu dissolved into water and reformed in his usual dramatic fashion. Sujetsu admitted that he had never seen Sasuke smile before and had assumed he did not know how, while Karen glared at him. Guy commented that they looked cute together, and Kakashi smiled, remembering those days. Naruto remarked that they looked cool together and urged Sasuke to come back. Sasuke only gave a short grunt in response. Sakura, hopeful, urged Sasuke to return. He glanced at her for a moment but did not answer, and Sakura turned away to hide the tears welling in her eyes. Itachi watched the exchange with an amused expression and thought that his younger brother seemed to have a girlfriend. The next image showed the trio plotting mischief. Kiba asked what they were planning, and Sakura explained that they had been scheming to remove Kakashi's mask. Mei chuckled that Kakashi was listening to them now, which was why their plan had failed. Naruto declared that the plan had been thwarted by Kakashi's presence. Kakashi dismissed the plan as not very good, but Sakura insisted otherwise, raising her fist in defiance. Naruto folded his hands and agreed, and Sasuke made a small approving sound. The Raikage chuckled at their unity and mischief, and the elders laughed along. In the third image, Itachi's eyes widened and he cleared his throat to draw attention. Kisame asked if he was all right. Kanomaru pointed at the screen and asked what they were reading. Kurenai was shocked to realize it was Kakashi's book. Tsunade demanded to know why such a book had been given to the children, and Kakashi hurriedly explained that they had stolen it. Guy pointed out that Kakashi had been watching them while the theft occurred. Kakashi insisted that he had only just arrived. All eyes turned to Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto. Sasuke stared at the screen without comment. Sakura laughed nervously from embarrassment. Naruto admitted with a nervous laugh that they had only wanted to know what Kakashi read all the time. Sakura supported him, saying it was Kakashi's mistake to read that book in front of kids, and Sasuke grunted in agreement. Asuma laughed, and the room filled with chuckles as Team 7 felt sheepish. Itachi continued to smile quietly. The fourth image prompted Ino to squeal. Kakashi reflected that, mischievous as they were, those three had become dear to him. Deidara scoffed and was met with glaring looks from Team Kakashi. A few members questioned why the images were being shown. Angshi explained that these young shinobi were the new generation trained by the legendary Sannin. The announcement stunned many. Shikamaru commented that, having been trained by the Sannin, it was not surprising. Tsunade asked about their progress while looking at Sakura, who was still recovering from the revelation. Shivi stated that they had surpassed the elders. Sakura had become known as the strongest kunoichi, and Naruto and Sasuke had become the strongest ninja and the most formidable duo. The group murmured those titles under their breath. Temari assumed it was a joke, but Angshi said the later images would make it clear. Orochimaru wondered aloud whether Sasuke had returned to the village. Tsunade teased him about whether he was pleased. Orochimaru only chuckled. The Konoha 12 grew excited, and Naruto and Sasuke exchanged stunned looks. The next image showed the village with happy expressions all around. Naruto beamed that he had brought his friend back, and Sakura smiled. Sasuke, with a small sound, wondered why he had returned and whether his mission was now complete. The room was filled with images from the future and a chorus of reactions. Someone admitted to having killed Itachi, and another responded that they were happy for their younger brother. Karen wondered what would happen to her now that Sasuke had returned. Hinata asked why the two boys in the second image had bruises. Shi politely explained that the image was from right after the ninja war. Mei, eyes sparkling, admired the two handsome young men on the same team. A mist ninja sighed. Kakashi smiled and told Naruto that he would be handsome in the future. Naruto happily declared that with Sasuke back, he would gain fangirls. Lee grinned and complimented Sakura's beauty. Ino teased that Sakura's forehead had become beautiful. Sakura blushed and thanked them. Tsunade commented, looking at Jiraiya, that with Sasuke back and everyone happy, not everything turned out badly. Jiraiya agreed that the future did not look so bleak. Shi and Shivi exchanged glances as the next image appeared. Shizun recognized the Byakugan seal, and Sakura jumped with joy, proudly saying she had achieved it. Tsunade expressed pride in Sakura. Jiraiya reacted with mock terror at the idea of an exact copy, and Naruto shivered at the thought. Ino asked about the young man to the right of Sakura. Shivi explained that he was Sai, a replacement for Sasuke who later became a friend. Sai approached Naruto, who was startled until Sai apologized. Naruto invited him to sit with them and shake hands, and Sakura welcomed him warmly. Sai forced a polite smile. Nearby, Yamato suggested that Sai's affiliation with the Foundation might be why he had been appointed to the team, tasked with keeping an eye on him. Kakashi agreed that Yamato would do his job well. Shi then pointed out the transformation of team when the next image appeared. Naruto leapt with joy at becoming Hokage. Shikamaru and Choji offered their congratulations together. Hinata timidly offered congratulations as well, and Naruto thanked her, making her blush. Kiba protested loudly that he wanted the title. Shino calmed him down. Sakura pointed out that Kakashi had been Hokage at some point, prompting Kakashi to protest that he preferred retirement and quiet time to read his books. Naruto teased Kakashi, insisting he must become Hokage, and Tsunade ordered Shizun to begin preparations to make Kakashi ready for the role. Shizun accepted the task. Guy congratulated his rival Kakashi and vowed to train hard to reach his level, leaving Kakashi grateful but reluctant. Remarked that Sasuke had eyes like the man called Pain, and Konan wondered how he had gained the Rinnegan. Itachi defended Sasuke's future strength with a quiet agreement. Obito wondered how strong Bakashi's younger generation could become. The Raikage told Darui to keep an eye on the team, noting that these Konoha shinobi were something else. Shi announced that it was time for a couple's reveal, and the girls urged him to hurry. Sakura felt a strange flutter as the next image was shown. The room reacted in surprise and a little amusement when they saw the couple. Shikamaru called it unexpected. Choji suggested it might have been expected, reminding Shikamaru that during the Chunin exams she had been the one to stop him. Ino teased Sakura about the romantic pose. Tenten said they looked good together, and Sakura and Sasuke both blushed. A furious shout interrupted the moment as Kizashi angrily confronted Sasuke for holding his daughter like that. Shivi calmly revealed that the woman was Sasuke's wife. Karen clung to Sasuke and protested, claiming that she was the one he loved. Sujetsu tried to calm Karen down and received a reprimand. Sasuke tested the word wife quietly and felt surprised by it. Kakashi teased his students about feeling old, and they all blushed. Ino offered genuine congratulations to Sakura. Sakura playfully called Ino a pig. Sai naively remarked about nicknames and was playfully punched by Sakura. Ino told Sai not to use bad names, and Sai quickly corrected himself by calling Sakura beautiful, making Ino blush. Sujetsu prodded Sasuke to see if he was in love, and Sasuke gave a dark glare before turning away. Shizun nudged Sakura and observed that they looked happy and that love had blossomed. Sakura turned bright red while Sasuke's ears reddened, and Karen watched with jealousy, resolving to claim Sasuke for herself in the future. Kizashi moved toward Sasuke again, but Mabuki stopped him. Naruto, happy for his friends, insisted that Sasuke had not stolen Sakura. Sakura had chosen him. The next image showed that Sakura and Sasuke had become parents to a baby girl. Tsunade felt joyous, and Jiraiya expressed happiness. Hinata squealed over how cute the child was. Sakura wept happy tears, and Sasuke quietly marveled that he had a family and wondered if he deserved it. For a moment, an old thought of revenge flickered in his mind before he pushed it away. Kisame teased Itachi about becoming an uncle. Mabuki and Kizashi praised the baby's beauty. Naruto declared he would be the child's godfather, but Sasuke immediately objected. Naruto pleaded, almost tearful, but Sasuke resisted. Sakura surprised everyone by saying that Naruto could be the child's grandfather, accepting him into the family circle, and Naruto triumphantly announced that he had permission from the child's mother, though Sasuke scoffed. Kakashi smiled, amused by their banter. Observers marveled at the beautiful family and how happy they seemed. Kiba and Shino noted that it was hard to imagine Sasuke returning to the village and starting a family. Neji pointed out that Sasuke did not have one hand in the image. Tenten added that Naruto's hand had been bandaged in a previous picture. Sasuke and Naruto both glanced at their hands and sighed. Shivi explained that both Sasuke and Naruto had lost a hand during the war, a costly sacrifice among many in that conflict. Shivi explained that Naruto had received a new hand made from Hashirama cells, but Sasuke had not. Kakashi asked why Sasuke did not have a prosthetic arm. Ungshi answered that Sasuke refused it. Living without the arm was his way of atoning, a constant reminder of the price he paid for his choices. Sakura told Sasuke he did not have to punish himself. Sasuke said it was his choice. Sakura worried that now he had returned and helped in the war, he did not need to keep proving himself. Sasuke replied that perhaps he would do something in the future that he would punish himself for. Sakura began to protest, but Sasuke stopped her. Kakashi teased that they were already having a couple fight. Sakura blushed and Sasuke glared at him, and everyone chuckled. Shivi announced that the break was over and they prepared to continue. Deidara mocked Sasuke by asking who would think a rogue ninja could have such a beautiful family. Tobi nudged Deidara and asked if he was jealous. Deidara said that if he did not know Tobi's true identity he would punch him, speaking with disinterest. Kisame complimented Itachi on his brother's beautiful family, and Itachi acknowledged he was glad his little brother had a home to return to. Sakura suddenly asked the couple what their daughter's name was. Sasuke frowned and asked whose name she meant. Sakura clarified, asking about their daughter. Sasuke and Sakura both asked Shivi and the others. Ino and Tenten teased them, and the couples blushed again. Kakashi and Itachi chuckled. Naruto, impatient, asked them to tell the name. Shivi replied that their daughter's name was Sarada Uchiha. Sasuke and Sakura muttered the name under their breath and shared a look. Ino exclaimed that it was a beautiful name, and the couple's eye contact broke. Danzo watched Sasuke and thought resentfully that he had to deal with the Uchiha. They turned their attention to the screen. The first scene showed a 5-year-old Hinata being bullied by a group of boys. The boys taunted her and demanded that she prove she had the Byakugan, mocking her eyes and calling her a monster. Hinata started to cry and sat down, covering her face. Naruto, angered, vowed to teach them a lesson and told Hinata to tell him if she met them again. Hinata nodded shyly. Neji insisted on going with Naruto, and Naruto agreed. Ino asked how they knew the boys. Naruto pointed to what was ahead. A 5-year-old boy with yellow hair and blue eyes stepped forward and introduced himself as Naruto Uzumaki and said he would be the future Hokage. Ino told him he was cute, and Naruto replied that he was always awesome, believing in himself. The bullies mocked his ambition and prepared to attack. Naruto performed his shadow clone technique, creating 2 small versions of himself that spoke in high voices and declared they would help him. The bullies laughed and shoved Naruto, leaving him unconscious for a moment. They took his red scarf and began tugging at it, jeering about the so-called future Hokage. Neji became angrier at the sight of Hinata's harassment, and Sasuke called the boys scum. The Raikage commented on bullying with amusement, prompting Tsunade to frown and Jiraiya to calm her down. After some time, Naruto awoke with a jolt and insisted he was not done yet, determined to try a better jutsu. He then realized the bullies were gone and only Hinata remained with his ruined scarf. Hinata asked if he was okay, and Naruto downplayed it, saying he was used to it. Choji and Gaara reacted with sadness and resignation. The others felt guilty, and Naruto cheered them, asking them not to feel low. Hinata tried to hand back the scarf, explaining what had happened. Time passed and the viewing continued. Suddenly, many in the group gasped. Tonari's puppet attacked Naruto, and he began to fall, but one of Sai's birds intercepted him after hearing his call and carried him to safety. Naruto thanked Sai, and Sai responded with a polite but reserved expression. Naruto demanded that Hinata be returned. Tonari claimed that Hinata had come willingly and asserted that they were destined to be together, saying that Hinata and he were meant to be wed. Tenten asked Hinata why she had done that, and Ino accused her of breaking someone's heart. Sakura, puzzled, wondered how Hinata's feelings could have changed so suddenly and said it was not easy to forget the person one loved. A tear escaped Hinata's eye as she tried to understand why the future version of herself was acting this way. Naruto, hurt to see Hinata cry, told the others not to accuse her without knowing the whole situation. Shikamaru observed that they must be missing some important information, and everyone agreed that there was more to the story. Naruto demanded that Hinata tell him it was a lie, but she closed her eyes. Everyone in the room held their breath, afraid that even the sound of breathing might hurt Naruto. He felt wounded. Tonari struck him while he was emotionally shattered. Naruto could not defend himself, was overwhelmed, and suffered injuries while the scarf Hinata had given him caught fire. Choji asked worriedly why Naruto had not defended himself. Niji explained that after the rejection Naruto had broken and could not understand or protect himself. Hinata's tears flowed, which pained Naruto even more. Naruto whispered Hinata's name and then lost consciousness. Hinata's heart fluttered. She moved toward the screen to reach him but stopped when Naruto's hand gripped hers with a sudden possessiveness. Meanwhile, civilians from every nation moved toward underground shelters. Many meteorites fell toward Earth and were intercepted by Mei's water and lava techniques and Inoki's atom-style jutsu, but blasts still struck the surface. Everyone grew anxious. On the moon, Sai questioned whether they were actually on the moon. Shikamaru observed that the place where they had encountered the crab bubbles might be a conduit, a passage between Earth and the moon, and noted they had less time left. Lee reacted with wide eyes. Shikamaru explained that there was a village on the moon connected to the Land of Fire. Inoki wondered aloud why the moon's inhabitants had become their enemies. Reikage asked what Inoki was thinking. Kakashi said it was a matter that required serious consideration. Shikamaru asked how Naruto was doing. Sakura replied that it was bad. Naruto had been almost completely drained of chakra and she was trying to heal him. Naruto muttered Hinata's name in his unconscious state. Everyone felt hurt except the Akatsuki. Sakura murmured that Naruto had finally understood, and Naruto responded slowly that it was too late. Hinata apologized to Naruto, feeling guilty. Naruto did not reply but did not let go of her hand. At Tonari's palace, Hinata lay unconscious in his bed. Tonari remarked that she was beautiful and used a jutsu to view her thoughts. He saw Naruto there and demanded to know why Naruto still occupied her heart. Mei reacted in disbelief and Shino suggested hurriedly that Hinata must have a plan. Shikamaru said she needed to discuss it with someone else. After some time Hinata regained consciousness and realized she was in Tonari's castle. She ran and found Hanabi unconscious in another room. Hinata thought sadly that Hanabi's Byakugan had been taken. Everyone reacted with anger and called Tonari a monster. Niji and Hayashi became furious. In a flashback, Tonari had told Hinata he wanted her to marry him. Hinata had refused and demanded Hanabi's freedom. Sakura observed that they were finally learning the truth behind Hinata's decision. Green chakra had surrounded them as Tonari revealed Hanabi unconscious and announced that he had taken her Byakugan. Hinata called him a monster. Anger rose among the group. Tonari explained that his actions were part of Himura's celestial decree. Hinata asked who Himura was. Tonari answered that Himura Akatsuki, founder of the moon's shinobi, was the younger brother of the Sage of Six Paths and that the Hyuga clan were inheritors of Himura's bloodline. Niji asked how the Hyuga came to live on Earth. Shivi explained that Himura had had a family on Earth before settling on the moon. Shikamaru recounted the ancient history. Millennia ago the Sage of Six Paths feared the Ten Tails and its massive chakra, and to weaken it he divided its chakra among nine-tailed beasts and hid the husk, the Geto statue, on the moon. Inoki noted that as far as he knew there were only nine-tailed beasts, and Akatsuki suggested there might be something on the moon. Shikamaru added that if the chakra of all the tailed beasts were joined, the 10 tails could be revived. Karen reacted with horror, while Suigetsu doubted it would be so simple. Gaara suggested that because the Geto statue lay on the moon, revival seemed unlikely, and Karen agreed. The narrative continued that Himura chose to live on the moon to guard the Geto statue and prevent the Ten Tails' revival. The sage became the founder of Shinobi on Earth, but Himura remained skeptical and declared that if the world strayed, he would entrust his descendants with its destruction. The group reacted with wide eyes. They discussed how fighting among Earth shinobi had continued, the Geto statue had been stolen, and the Ten Tails had been revived. Inoki asked about the Geto statue's whereabouts on Earth. The Akatsuki shifted nervously as their plans risked exposure. Tonari asserted that his clan concluded Earth shinobi only brought ruin, and in accordance with Himura's decree he intended to destroy the Earth. The Raikage and others scoffed. Tsunade argued that human selfishness had caused wars and that if humans did not change, outside interference was inevitable. The assembled leaders acknowledged the truth of her words. Tonari declared that when a pure Byakugan combined with his chakra it would transform into the Tensigen, and with that power he would gather the ashes of the earth and create a new world. Choji observed seriously that this was why Tonari had taken Hanabi's Byakugan. Shikamaru nodded. He told them he did not believe Tonari's story and that he intended to rescue Hanabi, even if he had no idea where the castle was located. He added that he would return for an answer. Shikamaru concluded that Hinata had agreed to Tonari's proposal only to learn the castle's location. Niji expressed his worry that this might backfire. Sasuke observed that it might be a do-or-die situation. A flashback followed, showing earlier events. Tonari entered the room and greeted them. He said he was pleased that Hinata had accepted his feelings. Hinata did not respond and moved away. Everyone looked at Tonari with visible disgust. They moved into the hall, which was filled with puppets. The head puppet bowed its head in respect and welcomed Hinata as a lady of the house. Hinata asked if the castle contained only puppets as she walked behind the puppet. Tonari explained that they were marionettes left by their ancestors and that, since his father had died when he was young, he had lived in the castle alone. Hinata felt some sympathy for him. Ino suggested he was trying to earn sympathy, and Kiba agreed, adding that Tonari likely planned to manipulate Hinata because of her kind nature. Tonari showed them the palace and explained that he intended to hold a marriage ceremony. Afterward, he planned to enter a room of rebirth and enter a deep slumber until the earth stabilized after a catastrophic event. Lee reacted with incredulity at the plan. Haydn made a shameless, teasing remark about what people do after marriage, which embarrassed and angered the others. Asuma scolded Haydn for his language. Hanabi asked innocently what Haydn had meant, and Hinata hurriedly deflected the question. Haydn received many angry glares. Hinata protested that the moon could not be destroyed, but Tonari told her not to worry because the castle was protected by an immense chakra. When Hinata questioned the nature of that chakra, Tonari explained that it was strong enough to move the moon. Konohamaru identified it as the Tensigen. Tonari described it as the power of an Akatsuki treasure, honed by his clan's suffering. When asked where the treasure would be, Tonari fell silent, apparently remembering Hinata's thoughts about Naruto and choosing not to tell her. Mei observed that Tonari did not believe Hinata. Karui pointed out that Tonari could perceive Hinata's thoughts but still refused to share information, leaving Hinata to search for the treasure herself. Hinata accepted that responsibility with determination. Tonari asked Hinata to knit a scarf for him, and she agreed half-heartedly. Naruto reassured Hinata that they would come for her soon, and she smiled. Sakura teased that she should also make a scarf for Naruto, causing Hinata to blush. Another flashback began. In the recollection, a man addressed Hinata as the Byakugan princess, and a purple chakra enveloped her. Shino noted that this was another flashback. Tenten explained that it was the day they had gone to a cemetery and that Hinata's behavior had changed afterward. The memory showed a battlefield where a single use of the Tensigen had overwhelmed one army and allowed the other side to secure victory with a powerful, sweeping attack. The scene emphasized the overwhelming power without graphic detail. Hinata stood before a cemetery, which faded, and the people connected to it appeared before her. Temari wondered whether Hinata was trapped in an illusion, and Itachi said it felt different. When Mei asked for clarification, Itachi explained that it was not a genjutsu in the usual sense but a technique used to convey a message. The gathered spirits descendants of Himura told Hinata that they belonged to the main family of the Akatsuki clan and that they had been defeated by a branch family that had twisted Himura's celestial decree. They warned that Tonari, a descendant of the branch family, was attempting to bring the moon down toward the earth using the Tensigen and urged Hinata, as the Byakugan princess, to destroy it. They knelt before her in that plea. Naruto noted aloud that Tonari seemed to be invoking a possibly false celestial decree. Jiraiya suggested that Tonari himself might not know the true decree, and Kakashi agreed that it was possible. Himura Otsutsuki then appeared and asked Hinata not to allow the world their elder brother had created to come to an end. Hinata vowed not to let that happen, and Hayashi felt pride at her resolve. The flashback ended. Hinata resolved to find and destroy the Tensigen while holding Hanabi's hand, determination on her face. Elsewhere, Shikamaru admitted he could not imagine that Tonari might be hiding in an artificial sun. Ino called Tonari a clever creep, and Sai asked why Hinata's Byakugan had not detected the hiding place. The team attempted to find an entrance by attacking directly. Many puppets emerged from the entrance, forcing them to retreat and hide. Ino expressed fear at the risks, Choji noted the danger, and Shikaku supported the decision to proceed cautiously. On Earth, the Reikage confessed he had never expected to use his weapon again after the war and prepared a chakra diffusion cannon to intercept incoming meteorites and to counter threats aimed at the moon. Anoki asked if that was the weapon meant to destroy the moon, and the Reikage confirmed it. Back on the moon, Hinata attempted to persuade Tonari that he could negotiate with the shinobi of Earth, but Tonari refused, becoming angry and raising his voice at her. Naruto warned Tonari in a low, dangerous tone not to shout at Hinata. Hinata smiled to reassure Naruto, which eased his mood. A temple of Himura then appeared in the sky outside the castle window. Tonari explained that the temple approached the castle at the time of the Rebirth Festival. Hinata concluded that the Tensigen must be inside that temple. Karui urged Hinata to go and check it immediately, and Hinata agreed. Back on Earth, Naruto regained consciousness after 3 days. Shikamaru approached and asked if anything had happened between him and Hinata. Naruto said it was nothing. Shikamaru observed that Naruto had been calling Hinata's name repeatedly in his sleep and that he had heard other embarrassing murmurs, and Sai teased him about being sentimental. Jiraiya warned not to press Naruto and advised the others to consider his emotional state. Sakura urged empathy, while Sai maintained a feigned ignorance about emotions. Naruto lay facing the wall, quiet and sad. Shikamaru urged him to help rescue Hanabi and Hinata, but Naruto remained silent. Niji warned others not to push him too hard, and Yugo reminded Sai that Naruto was heartbroken and could react unpredictably. On the moon, Tonari guided Hinata toward the temple. Hinata found that she could not detect the Tensigen and asked Tonari about it. Tonari told Hinata that it was not there and that he would show the real Tensigen after their marriage. Kiba made a dismissive sound and thought Tonari was clever. Shino agreed. As they moved toward the castle, Hinata found the real Tensigen tucked inside a half-moon structure. Hanabi leapt with excitement. Hinata took a chance and reached for the Tensigen, but Tonari arrived and dragged her back to the castle. Hinata tried to explain Himura's true celestial decree, but Tonari would not listen and branded her a betrayer. Kiba mocked Tonari for the accusation, and Ino defended Hinata, pointing out that Tonari had forced her to come with him. Others agreed with Ino. Tonari angrily demanded whether Hinata had knitted the scarf for someone else, then destroyed the scarf in a fit of rage. Hurt showed on Hinata's face. Naruto's nine tails chakra flared and his expression darkened. Sasuke noticed the change and urged Naruto to calm down. Everyone feared that Naruto might lose control again. Tonari declared he would ensure Hinata could never betray him again and used a binding jutsu that anchored her will, leaving her subdued. Naruto, trembling with anger, spoke of killing Tonari, and the group shifted nervously as Naruto teetered on the edge. Hinata gripped his hand tightly. Naruto looked toward her, saw the worry in her eyes, and began to calm. Everyone exhaled with relief. Neji spoke in a furious voice that he also wanted to act, but it was not yet within their power. Naruto forced himself to calm down. Later, Naruto went to Sakura, who was unconscious from overusing her chakra to heal him. He explained everything to her when she regained consciousness. Sakura found it amusing that Naruto had confessed first and reminded him of an old moment when she had once said she loved him. She joked that it might have been competitive with Sasuke back then. Ino, bewildered, asked whether that was true, and Sakura confirmed it. Shikamaru remarked that Naruto's feelings had once been unpredictable, and Naruto smiled sheepishly. Sakura observed that Hinata was a wonderful person and possibly too good for Naruto, and the group smiled. Naruto lowered his head and said that Hinata had been taken to Tonari. Sakura scolded him gently, saying Hinata must have had a reason she could not yet reveal. Sasuke, looking toward the moon, reflected that when a girl truly fell in love her feelings did not change easily. He understood how Hinata felt. Sasuke looked at Sakura and noticed she was already looking at him. Their eyes locked for a moment and an unspoken, tender emotion passed between them. Konan glanced at Pain and remembered moments with Yahiko. Kurenai took Asuma's hand and spoke quietly in agreement. Naruto watched the artificial sun and thought about the scarf Hinata had painstakingly knitted. He resolved to save her and promised to return her, knowing now how long and how deeply she had loved him. Hinata and Naruto exchanged soft, reassuring smiles. Suigetsu shrugged that the scarf had been the unexpected catalyst of their love story, and the group laughed. Hinata silently thought Naruto's name and a tear escaped her eye. Choji wondered aloud how Hinata could listen to Naruto. Shikaku explained that it was a heart-to-heart connection. On Earth, Sasuke found Hayashi injured as a meteorite descended. The Raikage prepared the village's chakra cannon to try to stop the falling rock. Hanabi and Hinata called out that Hayashi was still conscious. Neji pointed out his injuries, and Naruto asked Sasuke to take care of him. Sasuke acknowledged it and then hurried off. Naruto teased Sasuke about his concise replies and joked that he would buy a dictionary when they returned to the village, which made everyone laugh. Back on the moon, the marriage ceremony had begun and Hinata and Tonari entered the ritual. Meanwhile, Shikamaru, Sakura, Naruto, and Sai infiltrated the artificial sun while fighting an army of puppets. Konohamaru announced the mission. Sakura and Sai headed toward Hanabi while Naruto and Shikamaru moved in Hinata's direction. Tonari placed a ceremonial wafer near Hinata in an NTMT ritual gesture. She reached toward it. Most attendees watched breathlessly, while Deidara and Haiden sat with popcorn as if preparing to see an intense scene. Naruto arrived and intervened, breaking the moment and forcing Tonari to retreat. Shikamaru created an opening so Naruto could pursue Tonari. A puppet tried to stop Naruto, but Naruto knocked it aside with a single decisive strike. Kakashi suggested they enjoy the action with snacks, pointing at Deidara and Haiden, and Guy supported the idea. Pain glared and the two immediately fell silent. The others shook their heads at the antics. Shikamaru took his position and announced that the puppet assault would begin. Sai and Sakura advanced toward Hanabi on a lion-shaped puppet. Puppets attacked, but Sakura broke through them with strong, focused strikes. Ino praised Sakura for her strength. On Earth, meteorites continued to fall. Gaara used a sand barrier to protect Sunagakure. A scout reported a massive incoming meteor at 6 o'clock. Kakashi ordered a crane-wing defensive formation. The Taijutsu squad formed up. Lee opened his sixth gate and shattered half the barrage while the other half bore down. Naruto and Sakura shouted in worry for their sensei. Sasuke, despite his usual reserve, also showed concern. Kakashi reassured them that he was not going to die easily and smiled. Sasuke arrived and destroyed a meteorite with Chidori. Guy noted the lightning technique and Naruto exclaimed recognition. Sasuke explained that if he had not been there, he would have been the one to protect the village, then left after ensuring Hayashi was in safer hands, drawing some scoffing from Kiba. Tonari began another ritual, but Naruto interrupted and demanded that Tonari stop and return Hinata. Tonari agreed to release her from the ritual by ordering Hinata to fight Naruto. Hinata attacked, her movements urgent and pained, while Naruto dodged with ease and asked what was wrong. From his sage-enhanced senses, Naruto realized that Hinata was under a binding jutsu and that her actions were not wholly her own. Someone observed that it was most likely a puppet control's sealing jutsu. Naruto extended his right arm until it glowed orange and probed Hinata without harming her. He found the foreign chakra and pulled it free. As he extracted it, he saw the memory of Tonari harming her and clenched his teeth in anger. Ino registered wide-eyed surprise at what had happened. Naruto explained that it might be related to the Nine Tails, and the others agreed. Naruto gathered chakra in his hand and declared that Hinata was not a puppet. Tonari reacted by pulling Hinata back toward himself and unleashing a strong gust of wind-like chakra, pushing Naruto backward. Shikamaru noted that Tonari knew many jutsu, and Choji added that each of them seemed powerful. Hinata then came to and looked at Tonari in surprise. Tonari attempted to force chakra into her again, but his eyes began to burn, and Hinata seized the chance to move toward Naruto. Hinata called to Naruto and apologized, clearly shaken. Naruto told her that she did not need to explain and that he was the one who should apologize. He agreed with his future self and then asked Hinata about Tonari. Hinata replied that now was their chance and that they had to destroy the Tenseigan. Kanomaru's team cheered encouragement. Sai and Sakura reached Hanabi and found a torn piece of scarf among her belongings. As Naruto and Hinata escaped together, Hinata told Naruto what the Tenseigan was and where it was located. When they reached it, Naruto was about to destroy the Tenseigan himself, but Hinata stopped him. She warned that only someone with Himura's bloodline could destroy it or the person's chakra would be drained. Hinata attempted an attack, launching an 8 trigrams, twin lion surging shot. Her strike struck the Tenseigan but failed to leave a dent. She simply did not have enough power to break it. Hanabi asked Hinata what the attack was. Hinata explained that it was called Twin Lion's Fist and that she did not yet fully know it in the present, only in the future. Naruto suggested that Hinata infuse him with her chakra, and he reached for her hand. Kakashi responded with a proud, somewhat relieved tone that the idea could work. With Naruto's chakra added, the Tenseigan might be destroyed. Kurenai cautioned that chakra fusion normally required extensive training and that Naruto and Hinata were not on the same team, so it would be difficult. Asuma, amused, asked what people called Naruto and Hinata together. Kurenai explained it was the blended name Narahina, and a light-hearted discussion broke out about blended couple names among the others. The room became briefly distracted with playful suggestions before everyone refocused. Hinata and Naruto agreed to try. They stood close, shaded in their own chakras, and carefully merged them in what felt like perfect harmony. Her soft glow combined with his fiery aura. Observers in the room watched in awe as the two merged energies formed a single mixed light. They leapt and coordinated their technique. Naruto formed a golden-orange Rasengan while Hinata layered her twin lion's fist over it, and together they slammed the combined attack into the Tenseigan. The orb shattered, and many pale Byakugan-like lights scattered from it. The puppets ceased their motion, and the moon's approach halted. Relief spread through the gathered shinobi. A report came in that the moon had stopped moving closer. Kakashi checked his instrument and confirmed the reading. He used a large chakra diffusion cannon and destroyed the meteorites that had been falling toward Earth. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The planet appeared safe. During a video call with the 5 Kage, the Reikage reported that all the meteorites had been destroyed. Anoki made a sarcastic remark about the Reikage having kept such a weapon, and the others exchanged terse responses. The Reikage mentioned that there had also been a chakra transportation cannon capable of blowing up the moon, but Tsunade said it was no longer necessary. Naruto informed Shikamaru that they had destroyed the Tenseigan. Sakura and Sai arrived with Hanabi, and Sakura gave a piece of the torn scarf to Hinata. Naruto recognized it as the scarf Tonari had ripped away. He explained that when he had pulled Tonari's jutsu from Hinata, he had seen parts of her memories. Sakura teased that the scarf had been intended for Naruto in the first place, and the surrounding women reacted with amused squeals as the couple blushed. Despite the scarf being in shreds, Naruto hugged the fragment and thanked Hinata, making her smile. The moment was brief. Shikamaru noticed that the clock tracking the moon's movement had started again. Confusion and concern creased the group's faces. Jiraiya asked how that could be, and Kakashi warned that they had forgotten about Tonari. On Earth, the Raikage maintained his resolve to destroy the moon. As the leaders argued, a giant golem appeared, towering and threatening the assembled forces. Sakura speculated that it might be the husk of the Ten Tails, but Itachi said that it was not, a statement that drew a hard look from Sasuke. Naruto sprang into action, sweeping Hinata into his arms and activating a blazing cloak of orange chakra merged with the Six Paths Sage mode. The display seemed like his Nine Tails form intensified by the Sage techniques. Shikamaru observed that it was Naruto's Nine Tails mode but that it looked more powerful than before. The scene set the stage for the next clash. Everyone noticed the power and was impressed. Naruto then summoned Kurama, releasing an enormous glowing fox with 9 tails, and everyone reacted in shock. Mei noted that Naruto had a strong bond with the 9 tails. Be asked how Naruto had separated the beast from himself, confused. Sasuke clenched his fist and thought Naruto had grown stronger. Kurama engaged the golem while Naruto fell. Tonari intervened. Tonari performed a series of hand signs, coating himself in a cyan chakra flame and spawning 9 Truth-Seeker orbs. He used them to create a tornado that separated Naruto and Hinata. Asuma observed that Tonari appeared to be using Tailed Beast chakra. Some ninjas panicked and declared Tonari beyond their league. Deidara asked Obito if Tonari was stronger than him, earning a glare. Sasori shook his head at the commotion. Hayashi warned Tonari not to destroy the moon because Hanabi and Hinata were there. They received reports that the 9 tails had manifested on the moon. Jiraiya smiled and marveled at future technology, and others agreed. Kurama fired a tailed beast bomb that seemed to destroy the golem, but the golem recovered, surprising Kurama and everyone watching. A messenger informed the Raikage about a chakra cannon as Naruto and the others gathered, but the Raikage refused immediate action. Gaara asked for just 1 hour, and others supported waiting. The Raikage reluctantly agreed. Inoki amusedly called the Raikage stubborn. The Raikage insisted he was trying to save the world, while Tsunade reminded him there were people on the moon. The Raikage argued that the world's safety took precedence over a few shinobi, provoking mixed reactions. As Naruto searched for Hinata, he heard her scream and looked up. When the dust cleared, Tonari stood holding Hinata by the hair. Konoha tightened their fists in anger. Tonari claimed that Hinata belonged to him, then formed a golden cage and threw her inside, telling her she could watch her lover die. Niji swore he would not forgive Tonari, and Tenten worked to calm him. Naruto shouted Hinata's name and began running, dodging Tonari's chakra blasts. He took to the air and engaged Tonari in high-speed taijutsu mid-flight, impressing everyone. After another clash, Tonari declared that the world the Sage of Six Paths created was a failure and vowed to destroy and remake it. Naruto responded with determination that he would not allow Earth to be destroyed. Naruto formed a planetary Rasengan, an ordinary Rasengan with smaller Rasengans orbiting it, and Jiraiya and Kakashi watched proudly. Tonari and Naruto charged, their powers canceling each other out. Naruto then created 2 Rasengans and matched the power of all of Tonari's truth-seeking orbs. Seeing the battle reach a stalemate, Tonari fired multiple chakra blasts. Naruto dodged and redirected them. Kenomaru mocked Tonari for retreating, but Tonari seized an opportunity and used his orbs to form a golden beam. He brought it down toward Naruto with a massive technique he called the Golden Wheel, Rebirth Explosion. Hinata cried out Naruto's name and everyone grew worried. The beam sliced deep into the moon, splitting it in 2. Silence fell, no one could find words. Tonari looked down, convinced it was over. Hinata kept her eyes closed, refusing to believe Naruto was gone. Naruto insisted that it was not over until he said it was. He emerged from the opening accompanied by nearly 1,000 clones. Everyone except those already familiar with Naruto's cloning technique reacted in disbelief. Naruto smiled sheepishly. The clones swarmed Tonari, who panicked. He had relied on that finishing attack to erase Naruto and hastily formed a barrier from his truth-seeking orbs, blocking the barrage. Naruto stood his ground, staring at Tonari with a serious expression, refusing to give up. During the fight, Naruto produced Hinata's scarf and spoke about not giving up, explaining that knitting a scarf took time because deep feelings take time to convey. He vowed not to let Tonari succeed and deflected a golden beam, then struck Tonari hard. Kakashi teased that Naruto was in a love mode, prompting a few embarrassed faces and quiet laughter. Hinata was freed and joined Naruto. She approached Tonari with a stern expression and demanded the return of Hanabi's Byakugan. She swiftly removed the harvested Byakugan devices from Tonari's person and restored them to their rightful owner. Kiba and others were surprised at her resolute action. Tonari made one last effort and began collecting spare Byakugan to empower himself. Some younger shinobi reacted with obvious disgust. The golem stirred again, and Kurama pushed it away with another tailed beast bomb, clearly annoyed. Sujetsu quipped that Kurama was giving Sasuke vibes, drawing laughter while Sasuke glared. Tonari started absorbing Naruto's chakra. Hinata assisted Naruto in restoring his chakra, revealing to Tonari that she was also a descendant of Himura. Tonari continued absorbing more chakra but lacked a Tensigen to regulate the influx. He overloaded and began swelling with unstable energy. Shikamaru warned that Tonari was going to explode and might take the moon with him, and everyone feared for Naruto and the team. Naruto flew to Tonari and prevented the disaster by absorbing the excess chakra, stabilizing the situation and earning a collective sigh of relief. The Raikage prepared to fire the chakra cannon when another shinobi reported seeing writing on the moon's surface. Kurama had written something on the moon, and Konoha's messenger explained that it was a shinobi letter indicating the mission was complete. Everyone relaxed, still amazed that the Nine Tails had helped send the message. Kurama complained that he was not good at calligraphy, and Naruto laughed in response. Everyone joined in the laughter. Hinata took Tonari to the cemetery and told him the whole truth. She invited him to live on Earth, but he said he wanted to remain on the moon to atone for his mistakes and promised that no problems would arise from the moon in the future. Kisame observed that Tonari had become a better person, and Itachi added that Tonari had never truly been evil, only misguided. Naruto and Hinata stood together. Hinata struggled to ask a question and finally asked who had given Naruto his scarf. Mei declared that the question was important, and everyone sighed in anticipation. Naruto looked down at his scarf and explained that his mother had made it for him a long time ago, and the memory made him emotional. Jiraiya suggested that she might have made it when she was PR'ing tea with him, and Naruto nodded. He remembered finding the scarf among the third Hokage's belongings. Konohamaru promised to help Naruto search their grandfather's things, and Naruto enthusiastically agreed. Hinata laughed quietly at her own small jealousy of Naruto's mother. Hanabi teased Hinata gently, and Naruto and Hinata held each other's hands and began seeing each other. Naruto recalled their academy days, admitting that he had once written no one's name when asked who he would want to spend his last day on Earth with, because he had had no close friends then. Everyone felt sad at the memory. Naruto then confessed that now he knew who he wanted to spend that last day with, Hinata. He expressed that he wanted to spend that day with her forever. Hinata held his hand and let out a joyful tear. Mei wiped her eyes and called it a heartfelt confession, and Aoi asked the Water Kage if she was crying. The Water Kage smiled and said they were happy tears. Hinata addressed Naruto tenderly. Multiple versions of Naruto and Hinata were shown running while holding hands, memories appearing in bubbles around them, and the cave began to crumble. Tsunade observed that the cave seemed to be reflecting their journey, and Kakashi remarked with a smile that they had blossomed into a strong and beautiful leader. Naruto and Hinata blushed while holding hands, unnoticed by everyone. Hayashi felt happy for his daughter, and Niji offered a soft smile. Naruto lifted Hinata into his arms, prompting her to chuckle and ask what he was doing. He told her to put her arms around him, and she complied. Tenten asked what he intended to do, and Naruto only shrugged. Naruto gathered chakra in his palm and propelled them upward toward the roof of the cave. Shikamaru warned that they might crash into the ceiling, and Kiba scolded him for the risk. Shino asked sternly what Naruto was up to, and Naruto admitted that he did not know, earning a few glares. Refusing to be stopped, Naruto broke through the ceiling and emerged onto the surface with Hinata, facing the moon. Everyone's expressions softened. Kakashi smirked and commented that it was like father, like son, and the others chuckled as they remembered Minato leaping into the sky with Kushina in his arms. Naruto and Hinata exchanged affectionate names and shared a tender, innocent kiss in the moonlight. They blushed and moved to a corner, feeling shy under the teasing looks of their friends. Ino sang teasingly about kissing in the moonlight and wiggled her eyebrows, and the couple ignored her teasing with composed smiles. Later, at the Hokage's office, Kakashi informed the team that their mission was to rescue Hanabi Hyuga, who had been kidnapped. He explained that they would operate as a 4-person team led by Shikamaru and that he had approved Hinata's request to join the mission. Hinata thanked him. Hayashi expressed concern about sending Hinata, given Tonari's involvement, and Kakashi replied that Hinata would be safer alongside Naruto. Naruto gave a thumbs up and promised to protect her. Hayashi smiled. Niji questioned why he had not been present to protect Hinata and Hanabi, wondering where he had been. Tenten and others offered possible explanations, and Ungshi and Shivi appeared saddened by the exchange. Shikamaru was asked to put his hand out. When he did, a watch-like device appeared on his wrist. Kakashi explained that it was a top-secret device only the 5 village leaders possessed. Naruto asked what it did, and Kakashi revealed that it was counting down to a possible catastrophic event threatening Earth. The news made several of them uneasy. Shikamaru asked why such a device was necessary for Hanabi's rescue. Kakashi said his intuition suggested that Tonari might be manipulating the moon. Shikamaru was skeptical, but Naruto defended Kakashi's intuition with enthusiasm. The team agreed that Hanabi was in great danger and needed to be rescued as soon as possible. The Reikage suggested destroying the moon to eliminate the threat, but Inoki refused, saying it would be against nature, and Tsunade agreed. The team then mounted Sai's bird and flew to the location where Hanabi had been separated from them. Shikamaru instructed them to split up and search for clues, assigning Naruto to watch over Hinata. Naruto accepted the responsibility. As Naruto and Hinata rode together on the bird, Hinata activated her clan's visual ability and began searching the area. After a while she noticed something below. Naruto looked back and asked if she had seen anything. They landed and discovered a kunai half buried in the snow. Kanomaru identified it as Hanabi's kunai, and Ino confirmed that it matched the one Hanabi had shown Hinata before. Naruto adopted a serious expression and said they were on the right path and would find her. Hinata opened her bag to place the kunai inside. Naruto noticed a scarf in her bag and asked if she had bought it. Hinata answered that the scarf was special to her. Choji pointed out that it looked torn, and Mei explained that Hinata had wanted to express her feelings through the scarf, which made it especially meaningful. Tsunade reflected that sometimes inanimate objects could become very special. Choji nodded in understanding. Hinata was startled and asked why Naruto was not using his scarf. Naruto asked if Hinata was cold. Hinata hurriedly replied that she was fine and suggested they hurry to let Shikamaru and the others know, steering the conversation away from the topic. Naruto agreed. Ino asked Hinata directly why she did not tell Naruto. Hinata faltered, unable to answer. Naruto snapped at Ino, objecting to her tone toward Hinata and to Hinata's saddened expression. Ino defended herself, saying Hinata always drew her own conclusions and overthought things. The others murmured agreement, which only made Hinata sadder. Niji shot Ino a cold glare. Naruto insisted that Ino had no right to speak to Hinata that way. Ino apologized when she realized she had overstepped, and Hinata blushed at the thought that Naruto had defended her. The group regrouped. Shikamaru asked Hinata what she could see. Hinata reported that a spring at the bottom of the cave was glowing. Shikamaru repeated that there was a glowing spring, puzzled. Inside the cave they stood at the bank of a green glowing spring. Above the entrance a single letter had been carved into the rock. Sai identified the shinobi letter as I. Shikamaru suggested it could mean the beginning. Several ninjas asked what it was the beginning of. Inoichi said he had never seen the place before and that the spring looked unusual. Suigetsu frowned and said it did not look like real water. Karen and Yugo exchanged wide eyes as everyone considered what kind of enemy they might be facing. Shikamaru asked Hinata what she could see at the bottom of the spring. Hinata said her vision was distorted. Shikamaru, puzzled that her Byakugan might be affected, proposed that the spring was related to Tonari, since Tonari would have prepared countermeasures against the Byakugan. He admitted it was only a hunch, but the idea gave everyone something to think about. Naruto volunteered that they would have to go down and see. He said he could not get his scarf wet and began removing it. Sakura asked why it mattered if the scarf got wet. Naruto explained that it meant a lot to him, and Hinata felt a pang at his attachment. Sai reached out to touch the water. It slipped away without wetting his hand, confirming that it was not ordinary water. Suigetsu pointed this out, and the team braced for whatever they would face. They descended toward the spring and soon reached a chamber dotted with golden orbs. An unseen jutsu triggered, and each of them was pulled into images of their past. Naruto was shown the memory of the day when Irika had asked a question and his match with Kiba in the Chunin exams. Kiba gasped and demanded to know what was happening. Kurenai suggested it was a trap and that they might be caught in a genjutsu. Itachi said he had never heard of a genjutsu that showed the past, and Obito agreed. Kurenai grew curious and speculated that it was an advanced genjutsu. Hinata's vision moved to the memory of Pain's attack. As Hinata's scarf brushed Naruto, their memories collided and merged, placing them inside the same scene. Ino excitedly observed that Naruto might now realize Hinata's feelings, and others smiled, temporarily forgetting the trap. In the first memory, Pain immobilized Naruto with chakra rods. Hinata stepped forward to intervene and protect him. Naruto's friends reacted with worry. Konan mocked the situation, while Kakashi noted that Naruto would survive and the others offered sarcastic smiles. Hayden taunted Hinata, calling her foolish and telling her to listen to her supposed boyfriend, which made Naruto glare but also caused a blush in Hinata at the word boyfriend. Hinata gathered herself and spoke with determination that she intended to save Naruto. She reflected on how she had once given up and made many wrong choices, but that Naruto had helped her find a better path. She said she had always wanted to catch up to him, to walk beside him, and that his smile had saved her, so she was ready to risk everything to protect him. Naruto responded softly that he had not realized how much she admired him, and Hinata admitted that she had always wanted to be confident like him. Naruto encouraged her, telling her not to think lowly of herself, and Hinata thanked him with tears in her eyes. Kakashi teased that they were not alone, and the two blushed as others chuckled at their embarrassment. Kurenai and others wondered why Naruto did not remember this later. Shivi explained that after this scene Naruto would undergo a Nine-Tails transformation and a violent outburst, during which he would not remember what happened afterward because of losing control when Hinata was hurt. The group reacted with concern and teasing gestures toward the couple. The second memory showed the day when Irika had asked everyone to write the name of the person with whom they wanted to spend their last day on Earth. The repeated memory irritated some of the team. Konohamaru and others explained that because of the genjutsu, parts of souls and time had been shifted and trapped, similar to a powerful illusion that could control space and time. Itachi descended steps in the memory and approached Hinata, noticing her laughter and glancing at her paper. He was surprised to find his own name written there. Mei reacted dramatically that Hinata had written his name. Karui and Tamari exchanged remarks suggesting that Hinata's feelings were sincere and not based on someone's fame, while members of the Akatsuki shifted uncomfortably. Naruto, watching, realized why Hinata had turned so red and become shy around him, and a small, affectionate smile appeared on his face. Hinata kept her eyes lowered, shyness overcoming her. Their friends were in a teasing mood, casting glances meant to make couples blush. Third memory. On the day of the Chunin exam, little Hinata called Naruto's name and handed him a medicinal paste. The onlookers watched the screen with admiration. Little Naruto asked what it was, and Kurenai explained that it was healing ointment. Soul Naruto wondered why it was for him and remembered Sakura's teasing that he was dense. Everyone agreed, and Naruto grew embarrassed. Fourth memory. That night, Sakura and Hinata walked home and talked about the incident at Ichiraku. Soul Naruto listened from behind a pole, silent and struck by how deep Hinata's feelings were. Later, after a minor transformation incident left them sitting side by side, Naruto could not control his emotions and took Hinata's hand. Hinata blushed but settled her hand in his as if it belonged there. Fifth memory. Sakura complained that Naruto was dense and wondered aloud whether he understood what love meant. Hinata asked for clarification, and Ino echoed the confusion. Sakura suggested that perhaps her future self might know. Sasuke watched future Sakura with a brief, complicated admiration before reminding himself of his vow of revenge. Itachi chuckled at Sasuke's conflicting expression. Kurenai stepped in to explain the difference between affection for things like sweets and ramen and romantic love. She described romantic love as a deep emotional connection between two people that involves mutual trust, care, a spiritual bond, and emotional intimacy, while affection for objects was simply adoration. Asuma held Kurenai's hand during the explanation and Naruto nodded in understanding. Many realized they had been mistaking physical attraction for the deeper meaning of love. Sixth memory. Soul Naruto was shown running toward his home when a page with his name flew toward him. He listened to Hinata's confession that played as she practiced, and no one wanted to break the spell of that moment. They watched in silence until Sakura broke the genjutsu and everyone ascended. Jiraiya laughed nervously, noting that they had nearly forgotten they were trapped. The Raikage chuckled and agreed that the memories had been so beautiful they felt like a trap even without genjutsu. Sai asked whether it was an enemy trap, and Shikamaru explained that the technique lured intruders into a prison of memories. He added that Sakura's resistance to genjutsu had been crucial. Tsunade praised Sakura, and Sakura accepted the praise with a smile. Sai admitted he had been enjoying a dream of his brother and appreciated being pulled out of it. Shikamaru joked that it did not sound like genuine gratitude, and everyone chuckled. Naruto remained deep in thought. They reached another spring where Hinata's Byakugan appeared distorted. Shikamaru ordered everyone to jump into the spring. Most did, but Naruto hesitated. Hinata asked what was wrong, and Naruto brought up the genjutsu dreams they had just experienced. Mei urged him to confront whoever had cast it. Naruto hesitated but then jumped in. Mei felt a little disappointed when he seemed reluctant, but later Naruto admitted that he was confused and shocked that anyone could love someone like him. Hinata tightened her grip on his hand, and he smiled. As Hinata moved toward the spring, Tonari appeared. Hanabi panicked, but Hayashi reassured her that they would be noticed, and others expressed confidence in Hinata's strength. Naruto spoke proudly of her, and the Hyuga family watched with pride. Tonari said he had come for Hinata and had not expected her to come to him. Hinata demanded to know where Hanabi was and assumed a fighting stance. Sakura encouraged her from the screen, while Sasuke teased that Sakura was talking to the display. Sakura glared, and Sasuke's smile widened. Karin burned with jealousy at Sasuke's behavior. Tonari claimed Hanabi slept in his castle and moved closer. Hinata warned him to return her, and Tonari said that his answer would depend on Hinata's response to him. He addressed Hinata as a Byakugan princess, leaving her confused and prompting reaction from the others. Niji attempted a hesitant explanation about branch family status. Then Tonari proposed marriage. Naruto reacted with disbelief. Ino felt vindicated that Tonari had shown interest in Hinata, while Niji sternly urged Hinata to refuse. Hinata, timidly and uncertain, replied that she would, and Naruto tightened his hold on her hand possessively. Realizing Hinata was no longer with them, Naruto hurried back. Konohamaru, Udon, and Moegi cheered him on, and he responded with renewed enthusiasm. Sai noted the many bubbles around them, and Shikamaru surmised that the area belonged to the gatekeeper who made them. Kiba asked about the gatekeeper, and the Raikage suggested that if Tonari lived beyond the gate, a gatekeeper would be expected. B and others discussed the situation cautiously. They agreed to be careful. Among the observing group, Pain admired the security system. Deidara asked what he meant, and Pain proposed creating a similar system with Itachi during chakra extraction operations. Sasori approved the idea, while Orochimaru feigned amusement and asked whose chakra they intended to extract. Kisame replied with sarcasm that Orochimaru did not need to know since he was no longer an Akatsuki member. Orochimaru chuckled. Inoki demanded to know Deidara's plan, and Deidara mocked the elder, provoking anger. Chio scolded Sasori to stop his wrongdoings and return to the village. Sasori answered with sarcasm, and Chio grew sad. Naruto and Hinata were taking too long. Sakura worried aloud about whether they should go back to check. A large crab suddenly burst forward, spraying a blast of water. Akatsuki wondered if the creature was the gatekeeper. Karui answered that it might be. Shikamaru warned them not to destroy the bubbles or they would be trapped in a genjutsu again, and the teams split up. Sakura threw a kunai, but it had no effect on the crab's hard shell. She grew frustrated at the weapon's uselessness. Sai summoned creatures from a scroll, but the summoned lions failed to stop the crab. He then called forth two large elemental fighters, one of wind and one of thunder. They intercepted the crab and sent it tumbling to the far end of the cave. Shikamaru trapped the creature with a shadow-binding jutsu, and Sakura delivered a decisive blow that finally defeated it. The Raikage praised the teamwork. Sakura thanked him. Sai offered a small, forced smile, and Shikamaru shrugged with an expression that said what a drag. On another front, Naruto reached Hinata and confronted Tonari. Naruto ordered him to stay away from her. Tonari brushed past, saying Naruto was merely in the way. Mei spoke sarcastically that Naruto was blocking their romantic moment, which amused the others and left Naruto and Hinata both blushing. Naruto asked where Hanabi was and lunged forward, but Tonari dodged smoothly. The two engaged in close combat, exchanging taijutsu strikes. When Naruto landed a blow, the opponent shattered, revealing that it had been a puppet all along. Tenten and Kankuro questioned how a puppet was functioning without visible puppeteering threads, and Tamari noted with alarm that similar unmanned puppets had appeared in earlier fights. Ino muttered that the situation was getting dangerous. Sasori realized that puppets without users suggested a specific, worrying method, yet there were too many of them. The puppet, before breaking completely, declared that the real Tonari would come for Hinata next time and demand an answer. Hinata stood behind Naruto while he kept a hand raised to block Tonari's reach. The puppet collapsed. Kakashi teased about Naruto's protectiveness, and Naruto and Hinata looked away in embarrassment as the others chuckled. The groups reunited and traveled together until they reached an unfamiliar place. Shikamaru frowned at the sight of an ocean-like expanse before them. Naruto asked if an island was floating there. Shikamaru explained that the surface of the ocean was warped. Sakura observed that there was sunlight underground as well. Sai suggested that it might be a man-made sun, and the realization widened everyone's eyes. Darui expressed disbelief, while Haiden grumbled about the surreal nature of the mission. As they flew onward, Hinata activated her Byakugan to scout for enemies but found that nothing appeared. The targets were hiding inside bubbles that distorted her vision. Guy noted that the enemies were inside the same bubbles that thwarted the Byakugan. Kakashi warned everyone to be careful and not to fall into any trap. Naruto and Sakura assured him they would be careful. That night they made camp. Naruto kept watch from a tree and spotted Hinata slipping away. He followed her. He found her sitting on a stone, knitting a scarf. Naruto wondered whether the scarf was meant for him. Ino confirmed that it was, and the others smiled. The next day, Hinata informed the group that she could see a town about 20 kilometers ahead. Konohamaru expressed confusion at the idea of an underground town. Kakashi reminded everyone that there were many things in the world they did not yet understand. Hinata noticed Naruto was not wearing the scarf, and the others exchanged knowing looks. They reached an abandoned village and began to search for clues. Sai discovered a kunai and deduced that the settlement had once been a shinobi village. Inoki asked where its people had gone, but there was no answer. Sakura found a fire symbol carved into a stone. Sasuke suggested the village might be connected to the land of fire, and Shikake added that the Hyuga clan also had ties to that region, so a connection seemed likely. The group agreed. Shikamaru came upon scattered remains and old relics of the past. The sight startled everyone except Haiden. Naruto wondered aloud whether there had been a war here long ago. Choji said it looked like a conflict that had wiped out an entire civilization. Tsunade warned them that the consequences of war were always severe, a sentiment Pain slowly nodded to. A sudden scream from Hinata drew everyone's attention. They rushed over to find Hinata tangled in a spider web caught in her hair. Relief washed over the group. Hinata reported that she had been trapped in a web, and Naruto laughed gently at the irony that she could see so much with her Byakugan yet still walked into a web. He carefully removed the strands from her hair, and several of the women in the group reacted fondly. Hinata blushed while Naruto smiled. Later they reached a fresh water source. Naruto drank from his hands, and Hinata called his name to ask about the scarf. Naruto explained that it had been too warm underground, so he had taken it off. He offered water to Hinata from his hands, and the others watched with amused expressions. Their light teasing caused both of them to blush. Hinata mentioned feeling cold while scanning the area with her Byakugan. Naruto, noting her light clothing, said she should keep warm. Hinata insisted she was wearing mission gear. While traversing rooftops and leaping to the next, Hinata slipped. Naruto grabbed her hand to steady her. They held on to each other for a brief, shy moment before letting go. Kakashi made a casual remark that carried a teasing tone, prompting Naruto to protest. As they moved on, Naruto sneezed and Hinata asked if he was all right. Naruto replied that he was fine, and they walked side by side. Hinata laughed softly at something, refused to explain when Naruto asked, and they both laughed together. Niji observed that Hinata was speaking more confidently now, and Hayashi felt proud. Kurenai and Asuma found themselves lost in memories of quiet moments they had once stolen on missions. That night after dinner, Naruto wandered off and tripped into another stray spider web, falling and spraining his back slightly. He tried to apply ointment to the injury himself but was unable to manage it on his own. Hinata applied the ointment while the others joked about who should have done it. Naruto kept his focus on the screen, and Hinata reminded herself not to faint because of the teasing. Hinata told Naruto that she wanted to tell him something about what Tonari's puppet had said. The rakeage stopped the teasing abruptly, and everyone turned their attention back to the screen. Before Hinata could explain, Sai interrupted and led them to an abandoned area full of ancient architecture. Kakashi said the conversation should be finished there, because his instincts suggested it might be important. Team 7 swallowed. They knew his hunches were usually right. They came to a wall inside a cave where Shikamaru read an inscription that warned of an ancient oath and that the reborn moon, associated with the fist of the Tensei Eye, would bring ruin to humanity. He asked what the Tensei Eye was. The rakeage suggested it might be some ocular power of the Hyuga clan, and Hayashi admitted they did not know. Inoki asked if it could be Uchiha-related, but Sasuke and Itachi dismissed that possibility. The group shared confused looks. Shikamaru theorized that the Tensei Eye might be linked to the moon's movement, and Sakura connected Kakashi's earlier suspicion to Hanabi's abduction. Shikamaru sighed that Kakashi's instincts had, sadly, been right again, and Kakashi laughed nervously. Hinata suddenly heard a deep voice calling her Byakugan princess. Niji reacted with suspicion, but Tenten could not see anyone. Karen noted that only Hinata seemed to hear the voice, and the people of Konoha gasped and grew worried for her. A tile shifted on the floor, revealing stairs that descended into a cemetery. As they descended, Hinata announced someone was there, and a figure walked toward them, proclaiming that he sensed the Byakugan. Udon found him creepy, Moegi wondered fearfully if he was a dead person, and Naruto felt a shiver run through him. The stranger approached Hinata, and Naruto moved to stand between them. Niji also warned him to stay away from Hinata. The man opened his mouth and released a purple chakra sphere that struck Hinata. She went unconscious and Naruto caught her before she fell. The stranger warned that the Tenseigan had been revived and that it must be stopped, mentioning the Akatsuki, but he died before finishing. His form unraveled into light and collapsed in an abrupt, non-graphic way. The others were left uncertain whether he had been an enemy or a warning. Kiba frowned at Hinata's injury, and Tenten asked who the Akatsuki might be. Inoki suggested the name sounded like Tonari's surname, and the group agreed. Sakura tended to Hinata outside the cave. Later, on a rooftop, Shikamaru and Sai discussed how the man had invoked the name Akatsuki, the same surname associated with the Sage of Six Paths. Sai explained that Hagoromo Akatsuki had been the Sage of Six Paths before entering the priesthood. Shikamaru noted that the caller had called Hinata Byakugan Princess, suggesting that Tonari's abduction of Hanabi could be connected. The Reikage asked if the Sage of Six Paths was only a myth, and Inoki insisted he was not real, but others, including Jiraiya, confirmed the sage's role in founding the shinobi world. The explanation eased some doubt. Hinata sat in a room knitting a scarf when Naruto entered. He asked what she had wanted to tell him earlier, and Hinata replied that it was nothing and requested to be left alone. Naruto noticed her change in behavior but did not press. Kiba and Shino observed that she was behaving differently than usual, especially with Naruto, but assumed it was the strain of recent events. The next day Hinata seemed distant again, and Naruto noticed her silence. He commented that Hanabi still had not been found, and Hinata did not respond. He watched her as the sun set. She looked beautiful but remote. He encouraged her to join the others, feeling a twinge of sadness at her withdrawal. Sakura and Ino remarked that she seemed lost, but Hinata managed a small smile in return. That night Hinata sat on a rock by the lake, knitting a scarf as golden butterflies drifted around her. Naruto watched from behind a tree and found the sight beautiful. After a while he approached her. Hinata admitted in a hurt voice that she felt like a terrible sister because her little sister was in danger while she had been knitting. Shikamaru observed that she felt hurt because they had not found any clues yet, and Sakura reassured her that it was not her fault. Temari and Hayashi echoed that sentiment, reminding her she could not have known what would happen. Hanabi hugged Hinata and smiled, which brought a small smile in return. Naruto vowed that he would rescue Hanabi and stepped closer to reassure Hinata. She thanked him and called him kind. Naruto clarified that his kindness was not merely because he had romantic feelings for her. He emphasized that he cared about her and was primarily worried about Hanabi. Everyone's eyes widened at the implication, and Hinata stood up in shock, asking what he had just said. Naruto repeated that he was worried about Hanabi, and Hinata pressed him about what he meant before that, but Naruto faltered and could not finish his thought. Naruto confessed that he loved Hinata. Hinata's eyes widened in surprise. Shikamaru reacted that it was sudden. Ino remarked that the moment was beautiful and told everyone to look at the surroundings. Sakura remained dazed, caught up in the moment. Sasuke, watching quietly, thought that he wanted to learn the same ease of expressing feelings. Before anyone else could speak, Tonari appeared. The excited crowd sat down with grumpy expressions, while others chuckled. Naruto demanded angrily whether Tonari was a puppet and asked where Hanabi was. Tonari ordered silence and said that he had come to hear Hinata's answer. His eyes altered. Naruto replied in the same tone that Hinata had nothing to say to Tonari. Karui spoke with seriousness and insisted that Hinata had to answer Naruto's proposal and that Tonari should leave. The room filled with stifled laughter and a few blushing faces. Hinata approached Naruto, gave him a scarf, then stepped toward Tonari and said sorry to Naruto, indicating goodbye. Tonari took her and flew upward, carrying her away. The chapter ended there. Later, everyone was in good spirits after witnessing that love story. Gaara asked Shibi what they were supposed to watch next. Shibi indicated that the screen was about to start. The screen showed Itachi and Nagato walking along a riverbank. Jiraiya reacted with shock at Nagato's presence. Tsunade asked suspiciously what Nagato and Itachi were doing together and where they were. Inoichi noted that they looked different. Konan questioned Pain, who merely shrugged. Hayden observed that Itachi's eyes seemed different. Orochimaru drew everyone's attention and identified the phenomenon as a reanimation technique. Kabuto explained with a sly smile that this technique could reanimate dead shinobi and make them act as commanded. Jiraiya added that it was a forbidden technique created by the second Hokage. Kisame, in disbelief, asked whether Itachi was truly dead, and Itachi gave no answer. Sasuke smirked, thinking his revenge felt complete. Yugo wondered who had reanimated them, but no one answered. Itachi supported Nagato as they walked and said that they had been moving a long distance since sunrise and expected battle soon. Nagato asked who would be fighting. At that moment they all sensed Naruto and Killer Bee's chakra. Shikamaru concluded that this meant the Great Ninja War had begun. The Raikage was confused because Naruto and Killer Bee had been on an island earlier. Inoki suggested, with sarcasm, that the authorities might call them back to the battlefield since they were now fighting the reanimated. Naruto and Killer Bee arrived in front of Itachi and Nagato. Naruto was shocked to see them and confirmed that he knew both of them when Killer Bee asked. Nagato spoke as if surprised to meet Naruto again and noted that, even though Nagato had been dead, it felt like only a moment had passed. Jiraiya recognized Nagato using Yahiko's body as pain, and Nagato confirmed it. Jiraiya questioned why Nagato was doing this and called it madness. Konan retorted that Jiraiya should not give lectures since he had not been there when they needed him, and Jiraiya fell silent, hurt. Naruto glared at Konan, upset by Jiraiya's wounded expression. Naruto declared that he was now in control of the Nine Tails chakra and that he was in chakra mode. Itachi was shocked to learn that Naruto commanded the Nine Tails, and Nagato smiled, noting the changes in Naruto. Itachi complimented Naruto on his development, which surprised everyone. Nagato added that he and Itachi had been students together and were not surprised by Naruto's growth. Jiraiya smiled at his former students and reflected that the future looked different. Killer Bee joked that before his arrival Naruto had been more in the shadows, and Naruto protested the exaggeration. The group laughed. Nagato asked seriously whether Naruto had overcome hatred. Naruto answered gratefully that, as a senior, Nagato had taught him about pain and that his own training and the support of family and friends had shaped who he had become. Nagato acknowledged that understanding with a smile. Kakashi commented that their bonds looked different now, and Yamato suggested that something significant might happen during the fight. Guy praised Naruto's ability to change people's hearts. Sasuke told Itachi that there was something he wanted to ask. Itachi responded mockingly, wondering how he should know about his little brother. Sasuke averted his gaze. He said he also wanted to ask something else, but before they could continue, Kabuto forced Itachi to attack using a fire technique. Killer Bee used Samehada to disrupt the attack and break up the chakra burst. Orochimaru noted Kabuto's involvement. Obito observed Kabuto helping. Kabuto thought to himself that it made things more complicated. Itachi noticed Samehada and thought of Kisame. Kisame, despite being dead, spoke with shock. The others realized that Kisame was under a spell that allowed him to speak even after death. Naruto, confused at hearing the dead speak, listened as Killer Bee explained that Kisame was bound by a technique and that even if Kisame fought, he was not acting of his own will. Itachi then vanished to Nagato's side and leaped into the air above them. Nagato informed Naruto and the others, and Itachi struck with a rapid taijutsu attack. Naruto defended himself. Observers saw on the screen that the reanimated shinobi were not acting of their own volition. Ino commented that they were not in control. Shikamaru wondered why Itachi did not seem to want to fight willingly, since an enemy would normally attack without being forced. Everyone began to think about that. During the clash, Itachi asked about Sasuke's whereabouts and his intentions. Naruto replied while defending himself that Sasuke had vowed revenge on the Leaf Village and had joined the Akatsuki. The people of Konoha reacted with disbelief. Naruto angrily told Sasuke not to be reckless and asked whether Sasuke had gone mad. Sasuke himself appeared shocked by his own actions, torn by the knowledge he had gained. Danzo understood that Sasuke had learned the truth. Itachi asked why Sasuke would not return to the village, stunned by the turn of events. Naruto explained that Sasuke had discovered the truth about a top-secret mission and had chosen to strike against the leaf. Nagato murmured, confused, asking whether Madara could be involved. The others shared the same question, tensions rising as the situation on the battlefield grew more complicated. Bee attacked Itachi from behind with Samehada, but Itachi dodged with a backflip and moved toward Nagato. Itachi glared at Obito, and Obito shrugged. Naruto informed the group that Madara had told him the truth. Itachi reflected inwardly. Naruto, desperate, asked whether Madara's claim was true and whether the Uchiha clan had really been planning to take over the village. Everyone's eyes widened. Sasuke felt a turmoil of uncertainty as if he were about to hear the most hidden and painful truth. Itachi warned that Naruto had said enough. Nagato asked if the story was true. Naruto explained that Itachi had died playing the villain to protect the village and Sasuke, and that Sasuke understood Itachi's pain and resolve. Naruto warned that Sasuke seemed intent on destroying the hidden leaf as revenge for the suffering the village had caused Itachi. All eyes turned to Itachi. Sasuke, controlling his tears, asked whether Itachi had killed the whole clan to save the village. Naruto, with a heavy heart, insisted that Itachi was not a villain but a hero. Kakashi asked Itachi to answer, but Itachi remained silent, so the others looked to Shivi and Unshi for confirmation. Shivi explained that the village elders, particularly Danzo Shimura, had forced Itachi into making an impossible choice. They had presented him with the option of a swift, contained slaughter or a much wider war, and in return Itachi had demanded Sasuke's safety. After the massacre, Itachi had joined Akatsuki to act as a covert agent for the village. The revelation shocked everyone. Sasuke glared at Danzo and moved toward him in fury, vowing to kill him, but Itachi held him back. Sasuke begged to be allowed to act alone. Itachi told him to calm down and hugged him. Sasuke leaned into the embrace and cried quietly. Sasuke then declared that he would destroy the village, hiccuping with emotion, and Itachi answered sternly that he would not. Sasuke angrily asked why Itachi would spare those who had caused so much pain, the people responsible for his suffering, and Itachi gave the short, heartfelt answer that the village was their home. The response resonated with everyone. Jiraiya said they would punish whoever was responsible, glaring at Danzo, and Tsunade added her agreement. Naruto told Sasuke he could not destroy the whole village because not everyone was guilty and that the guilty would face consequences. Sasuke nodded in understanding. Danzo defended his actions, insisting they had been necessary to prevent a coup. The Uchiha brothers glared. Shikaku argued that children and innocents should not be punished and that the guilty should be singled out rather than condemning a whole clan. Pain observed with a sad smile that Danzo was always selfish. Jiraiya expressed shock that Danzo had acted so ruthlessly even in dealings involving Nagato, and Konan silently nodded. Kabuto remarked that Danzo's offenses were many, which stunned the gathered group at the scale of harm he had caused. Itachi cursed Madara under his breath. Itachi then asked whether the wider village knew of these events. Naruto informed him that Kakashi and Captain Yamato had been present at the time, but there had been no evidence to back Madara's claim, and Kakashi was keeping the matter tightly contained. Naruto did not believe anyone else was aware. Itachi asked the others not to tell anyone and to protect the Uchiha name. Kakashi reassured him that it would not tarnish the clan's reputation. Shikamaru wondered why no one had heard about Itachi's role as a hero. Konohamaru enthusiastically praised Itachi and, correcting himself, called him Big Brother, which made Itachi smile. Sakura hesitantly asked whether she could also call Itachi Big Brother, and Itachi teased that she was his little sister-in-law. She blushed and the others chuckled. Sasuke looked at Itachi with guilty eyes and apologized, and Itachi patted his head affectionately, telling him not to dwell on it. Nagato felt his body move of its own accord and used a pull technique to draw Naruto and a stone together, but an orange claw erupted from Naruto and interrupted the collision. After a moment of thought, Itachi said he would let the others deal with Sasuke. Sasuke insisted he did not need anyone to take care of him, but Itachi warned that he would. Naruto admitted that managing Sasuke had been part of his plan from the start. Nagato asked Naruto to pull him away because he could not move on his own, then performed a summoning technique that produced a large two-headed dog and a huge bird. Nagato hesitated about stepping in and Naruto urged him to decide. The group laughed at the exchange. Itachi moved behind B and unleashed a fire-style phoenix flower technique. B and the Eight Tails defended against the fire with the help of the beast's hands, and one of the Eight Tails' tentacles wrapped around Itachi. B triumphantly believed he had captured Itachi, but Itachi reminded everyone to stay focused, which confused the onlookers. Elsewhere, Naruto defeated the giant dog and remarked that, for something so large, it had been easier than expected. Nagato, perched on the summoned bird, warned Naruto to stay alert as the dog's heads began to regenerate, surprising Naruto. Shikamaru observed how powerful the foes were, and Choji added that they seemed to be reincarnated. Kiba teased Naruto that he was in deep trouble, and Naruto agreed. He moved toward the tethered Itachi and then realized he had not truly captured him. Itachi had used genjutsu. Itachi warned B not to meet his eyes and slipped free from the tentacles. In B's subconscious, the eight tails struck his head, breaking the illusion. B then saw many shuriken flying toward him, summoned all the swords stored in Samahata, dodged the projectiles, and began to engage Itachi in close combat. B commented that it was difficult to place a Jinchuriki in genjutsu. Sasuke smirked and reminded everyone not to underestimate his older brother, which brought a rare lightness to Itachi. Naruto used Rasengan on the dog, and another head appeared. Naruto expressed frustration that the creature did not stop regenerating. Nagato explained that every time a head was struck it multiplied, and instructed Naruto that they needed to incapacitate Nagato's link first. Naruto acknowledged the challenge and thought back to how he had once overcome the creature. Itachi then moved to the bird's beak and activated the Mangekyo Sharingan. Naruto warned the group about the danger of Amaterasu or Tsukuyami. Itachi applied his Mangekyo on Naruto, and a crow bearing the Mangekyo emblem emerged from Naruto's mouth, astonishing everyone. Naruto wondered why a crow had appeared, and the others shared the same confusion. A flashback began. In that earlier scene, Naruto and Itachi stood face to face. Hanabi asked about their whereabouts, and Sakura explained that they were watching a flashback of a meeting that had occurred before the war. Hanabi nodded in understanding. Itachi asked why Naruto was so attached to his brother, saying that Sasuke was just a rogue ninja. Naruto replied seriously that he thought of Sasuke as a brother more than Itachi ever had, and Itachi smiled. Sasuke and Naruto exchanged looks of brotherly affection. Kakashi observed Itachi's smile on the screen and remarked that Itachi seemed pleased. Naruto attempted to strike, but Itachi immobilized him with a genjutsu. Itachi explained that he had only wanted to talk for a moment. He accused Naruto of trying to take Sasuke back to the village and asked what would happen if things did not go as Naruto hoped. Tenten asked what Itachi meant, and Itachi said he wanted them to look further. Naruto declared that he would do anything to make it happen, even by force if necessary. Itachi pressed him with a hypothetical. If Sasuke became a threat to the village, could Naruto stop him, even if it required killing him? Choji frowned and asked what Itachi wanted to hear, and Shikamaru observed that Itachi was testing Naruto's resolve. Naruto protested that Sasuke would never attack the Leaf Village. Itachi warned that Sasuke was still a blank canvas who could be swayed, and asked if Naruto could stop him in that case. Sasuke looked intently at the screen and Itachi chose the village. Itachi stated that he chose his home, and Sasuke smiled as he finally understood the will of his brother. After that, Itachi placed a crow into Naruto's mouth and informed everyone that he had shared some of his power with Naruto, though he hoped the day would never come when Naruto would have to use it. Everyone realized where the crow had come from. The flashback ended. Back in the present, Nagato warned that it looked like Amaterasu. B threw his sword at Itachi, but Nagato stopped it with a powerful push. Nagato muttered in frustration that his body seemed to be moving on its own. Itachi opened his eyes and looked directly into the crow's gaze, and Kabuto felt something different. Nagato realized it was not Amaterasu. Orochimaru trailed off in shock. Itachi then used Amaterasu to engulf and dispel the summons of Nagato in a sudden, intense burst of black flame that erased the summoned form without graphic detail. Nagato asked what Itachi had done with the crow. Kabuto realized that Itachi had broken the reanimation jutsu, and Itachi explained briefly that every jutsu had a weakness. He told Naruto that he had used a new genjutsu against the enemy's technique, a genjutsu that ordered him to protect the Leaf Village, which erased the reanimation. Danzo and Obito realized at the same moment that this was only possible because of Shursue's eye, and their eyes widened. Itachi revealed that he had prepared the crow to respond to his Mangekyo Sharingan. When B asked for clarification, Itachi explained that Shursue's visual prowess created an unparalleled genjutsu, Kodo Amatsukami, and that he had implanted Shursue's left eye into the crow and given the crow to Naruto. He had not expected to use it on himself. Naruto and Sasuke reacted with surprise. Sasuke asked if Itachi had killed Shisui, and Itachi replied firmly that he had not. Itachi recounted that Danzo had stolen Shisui's right eye and that Shisui had entrusted his remaining left eye to Itachi, asking him to use it to protect the village before disappearing. The scene of Shisui giving his eye to Itachi and falling into a valley played out in memory. Itachi's eyes glistened with tears as everyone glared at Danzo. Itachi said he had given Shisui's eye to Naruto because Naruto shared Shisui's feelings. The mark of a shinobi was to protect from the shadows. If Sasuke ever became a threat to the village, Naruto, who cared for Sasuke like a brother, would be the one who could stop him. Itachi explained that Sasuke had sought the eternal Mangekyo by transplanting Itachi's eyes into himself, and if that had happened, the crow would have responded to Naruto's contact with the transplanted eyes and cast Kodo Amatsukami on Sasuke to protect the leaf. That had been Itachi's plan. Naruto praised the plan as fine. Sasuke apologized for his immaturity, and Itachi reassured him with a gentle smile that little brothers were allowed to make mistakes. Sasuke chuckled slowly. He asked why Itachi had not used the jutsu on Sasuke from the start. Itachi answered that he had not been able to. Shisui's Mangekyo would take decades to reactivate unless fueled by Hashirama's chakra, and Sasuke had intended to use Itachi's death for his own purposes. Everyone nodded in understanding. Itachi thanked Naruto for trusting him and said he no longer needed to worry. Naruto's past promise to protect the village came back to Itachi, and Itachi smiled at Sasuke, calling him a lucky little brother to have a friend like Naruto. Sasuke agreed. Naruto hugged Sasuke, and Sasuke reciprocated. Sakura soon joined the embrace. Sasuke asked Kakashi and Sai if they could send invitation cards to both of them, and Kakashi agreed immediately. Sai looked confused and asked if he could join as well. Naruto happily affirmed that Sai was also a member of the team. Sakura, gritting her teeth as she stared at Danzo, insisted that Sai would not be allowed to go with that man again. Others glared at Danzo. Sai joined them and Team 7 was reunited. Everyone smiled except Danzo's supporters. Everyone was struggling to accept the truth about Itachi. With the new evidence, Tsunade decided Danzo would be punished, and the other Kage and the nation's ninja expressed admiration for Itachi's patriotism. Itachi asked Sasuke if he was all right. Sasuke responded with a brief grunt, still distracted. Itachi pressed to know what he was thinking. Sasuke said he felt sad and angry about everything. Itachi began to speak his name, but Sasuke cut him off and reassured him that he would not do anything reckless this time. Itachi smiled and patted his head. Shivi suggested they watch events concerning the next generation, and everyone turned their attention to the screen. Umshi asked Itachi if he wanted to see his niece, and Itachi, surprised, agreed. On the screen, a blonde boy was painting Naruto's face on the mountain and muttered that the painting made Naruto look a little more handsome. Shikamaru frowned and asked who the boy was. Choji said the boy looked exactly like Naruto, and Irika noted that his behavior matched Naruto's, which made Naruto chuckle nervously. Ino speculated the boy might be Naruto's son, which made Naruto glance at Hinata and she blush. On a roof, Shikamaru was teaching his son the steps of the shadow strangle technique. Shikadai asked to see the steps demonstrated, and Shikamaru explained that figuring it out for himself was the most valuable part of training. Shikadai complained about the effort, and Shikamaru noticed Boruto's mischief nearby. Naruto excitedly pointed out that Shikamaru and his son shared similarities, which made Shikamaru sigh in resignation. Shikaku's mother celebrated the idea of becoming grandparents, and Shikaku nodded happily. Temari observed Shikadai's eyes with a thoughtful expression, and when Gaara asked what was wrong, Temari dismissed it. Shikamaru raised an eyebrow in suspicion but let it go. At another location, Sai was showing Inojin how to use a summoning scroll. Sai produced a large white lion from his scroll while Inojin produced a small pink creature from his own. Sai teased Inojin about his designs being more modern than Sai's classic style. Naruto grinned and joked that Inojin looked cool in his own way. Yamato remarked that Inojin bore a Yamanaka resemblance, prompting Sakura to tease that would make Ino his mother, which made Ino point at herself in surprise. Inojin watched the screen with admiration. Danzo looked disappointed in Sai. Rock Lee and Metal practiced balancing on a pole using only their fingers. Lee urged Metal to set his heart on fire, and Metal responded eagerly. Ten expressed excitement at seeing Lee's son, and Guy proudly congratulated Lee. Niji offered his congratulations as well, and Lee thanked him with a thumbs up. Jiraiya turned to Tsunade and said the future looked bright. Tsunade smiled, the happiness visible in her eyes. Boruto set his paint bucket down and waited, knowing his father would appear any minute. Naruto arrived wearing the Hokage cloak and scolded Boruto for getting carried away with his antics, though he allowed himself a proud comment about looking good in the attire. Lee congratulated Naruto, and Naruto smiled. Boruto protested and attempted a playful kick. Naruto stopped it and countered, only to find the attacker was a shadow clone. Boruto quickly slipped away. Kiba shrugged and commented on the trouble Boruto caused. Iruka told Boruto the difficulty he could be, and Naruto smiled nervously. Boruto encountered Sarada and asked her to help him hide. Sarada deliberately gave Naruto the wrong direction when he asked about Boruto's location. Naruto complained that someone should teach Sarada to tell the truth, but Sakura explained that Sarada was only helping a friend. Sasuke responded only with a brief grunt, and Naruto huffed in annoyance while Sasuke offered a faint smile. Boruto later admitted that if anyone deserved thanks, it was Sarada, and Sarada sighed at his theatrics. Boruto griped about getting upset over a little graffiti on the great stone faces and called the man a foolish old man, but Sarada pointed out that Boruto had wanted his father to chase after him. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that observation. Others reflected that if a father held the office of Hokage, it could be hard for a child to get attention, and the Kage commented on how duties made understanding difficult for children at the time. Boruto defended himself, saying he had been playing tag with his father and trying to beat his previous record. Shikamaru used his shadow possession technique to restrain Boruto and admonished him not to trouble the 7th Hokage, noting that the Hokage and his advisors had busy responsibilities. Temari teased Shikamaru about his usual complaints, and Ino and others laughed at Shikamaru's perpetual exasperation. Shikadai joked that the Hokage had a difficult time dealing with a troublemaker like Boruto. Boruto insisted it had only been a shadow clone and that the real Naruto had already returned to work long ago. Yamato laughed, noting Boruto's knowledge of his father's capabilities. Konohamaru urged patience, and Naruto promised to try. Shikamaru remarked that if Lord 7th used Sage Mode, he would find Boruto in an instant. Jiraiya agreed with that assessment, and Naruto acknowledged that he understood. Boruto announced that he had planned to keep running away until his father took catching him seriously. Shino observed that someone had implied Boruto did not need his father's attention, and the others laughed at the remark. Shikamaru commented that father and son both did not know when to quit and pointed out how much Boruto resembled Naruto, prompting Boruto to protest. Naruto responded proudly that Boruto was his son and would never give up no matter what happened. Shikamaru told Shikadai to fetch Lord 7's shadow clone. Shikadai asked why he had to go but sighed and complained that it was a drag before heading off. Shikamaru agreed that it was a drag for him as well and urged him to hurry. Sarada looked down, slipping into silence, and everyone chuckled. Shikamaru's mother glared at her husband while he and their son scratched the back of their heads and laughed nervously. Later, Sarada sat with a brown-haired girl. Chocho teased that if Sarada did not want the snacks she could have them, and Choji stopped munching and said with mock shock that the girl was his daughter. Ino admired the girl's beauty, and Choji smiled slyly in response. Choji's mother called their granddaughter adorable, and Choja returned the smile. Chocho noticed Sarada's distracted expression and accused her of ignoring them. Ten pointed out Sarada's distraction, and Sakura worriedly asked what had happened. Sarada said, seemingly out of nowhere, that everyone was getting along but the graduation exams still felt far off. Chocho joked that she might be excited if the test would make her lose weight but admitted she had not given it much thought. Karui smugly teased about thinking of weight loss while eating, and Choji defended that they needed to eat to use their jutsu. Karui said Sarada needed to control herself, and Darui asked why she cared. Karui replied that she did not know why she was bothered. Sarada, still distracted, questioned the appeal of becoming a ninja and said the words sounded lame. Kakashi, sensing that something significant was happening, raised an eyebrow. Sasori mockingly commented that Itachi's niece did not want to become a ninja, earning glares from the Uchiha brothers. Hayden scoffed that it was a foolish notion, and Sasori shrugged. Cho-Cho, confused, asked if something had happened. Sasuke also looked concerned. Sarada abruptly asked what everyone was going to do after that, announcing that she had the whole day free and wanted to hang out. Cho-Cho explained that she had promised her father she would train with him later, and Sarada's mood soured again. Itachi raised his eyebrows in confusion. Sasuke asked what was wrong, but Itachi dismissed it as nothing. Cho-Cho insisted she was not interested in training but felt obliged. Sarada suggested she should go train with her father because she would not want to fail the exam. Tenten called that rude, looking at Sakura and Sasuke shrugged while Sakura chuckled nervously and apologized to Choji. Choji accepted the apology with a smile. Cho-Cho felt offended and accused Sarada of acting superior because she came from the Uchiha clan and therefore might not need to worry about training. Sasuke responded that Uchiha also needed training, and Naruto agreed that everyone had to train to become strong. Tenten wondered why Sarada was behaving that way. Kiba shrugged and said it was like father like daughter, but he immediately backed off when he felt a stern look. Sarada denied that was the cause and clarified that what bothered her was special training with her father. Kakashi realized the meaning, and Guy asked for clarification. Kakashi speculated that Sasuke might be busy and not have time to train with Sarada, which explained her sadness. Sasuke nodded in understanding and felt a pang of guilt, thinking about how to avoid being absent from his daughter's life in the future. Choji called to Cho-Cho, making her blush. Cho-Cho then asked Sarada whether she and her father were similar. Sarada admitted she did not know and that she could not clearly remember him because she had not seen him in a long time. Many shinobi reacted with shock. Naruto demanded angrily what Sasuke had been doing, and Sasuke answered slowly with guilt that he did not know. At the Uchiha house, Sarada looked at a photo of Sasuke and felt emotional, wondering where he was and what he was doing. Sasuke felt sad and angry at himself for making his daughter cry. Sakura returned home tired. Sarada greeted her while rubbing her eyes to hide tears. Sakura asked if something was wrong and noticed the Uchiha symbol on Sarada's clothing. Ino teased Sakura for showing off the symbol, and Sakura blushed as Sarada said her eyes had become blurry for a moment. Sakura knelt to check and said she would make an appointment for an eye exam. Shivi explained that Sarada had activated her Sharingan at age 3, which was why she needed glasses, and many reacted with surprise. Itachi, Sasuke, and Obito reflected on what it meant to have the Sharingan awaken so young. Sarada told them not to worry and suggested they should be more concerned about themselves. Sasuke felt happy watching the two important women in his life take care of each other. At the dining table, Sarada asked suddenly whether her father had to wear glasses like she did. Sakura appeared confused by Sarada's abrupt tone and did not answer directly. Sarada then accused Sakura of not knowing much about her own husband, speaking harshly. Sasuke's eyes widened at Sarada's tone, and the scene held on that tense moment. Sakura noticed that Sarada had been acting strangely and asked why she seemed different. Sarada, impatient, demanded to know when Sasuke's important mission would end. Sakura answered hesitantly that she hoped it would end someday. Sarada scoffed that Sakura could not even say whether Sasuke ever needed glasses. Sakura chuckled sadly at the harshness. Sasuke admonished that this was not the way to speak to his wife. Sakura tried to calm him, saying Sarada was only a child with many questions and that she was partly to blame for not giving clear answers. Sasuke argued that the details might be classified and that Sarada needed to understand boundaries. Sakura tried to soothe him, and Naruto stepped in with mock praise of how Sasuke's communication had improved, joking about the long sentence and ending with his trademark flourish, which made everyone laugh. Sasuke glared, his Sharingan briefly flaring. The next day, Sarada searched the library for information about Sasuke but found nothing. When Sakura asked why the information was restricted, she explained that Sasuke himself had limited access because he did not want to reveal his past to their daughter just yet, and everyone understood. Later, While Sakura was doing household chores, Sarada approached her. Sarada hesitated and then asked if Sakura could answer something. Sakura encouraged her to ask. Sarada pressed for why Sasuke had not returned and suggested Sakura must know where he had been and what he had been doing. Sakura tried to respond lightly, but the conversation grew tense. Hayashi urged Sarada to let the adults handle it, and Kakashi suggested Sasuke might indeed be on a secret mission. Sarada demanded that Sakura stop avoiding the question, clenching her fist and accusing her of not knowing the truth while still calling herself Sasuke's wife. Sakura looked pained by the accusation, and Sasuke, seated nearby, squeezed Sakura's hand under the chair and rubbed his thumb across the back of her hand to reassure her. Sakura began to answer but faltered. Sarada bluntly asked whether Sakura was actually married to her father. Sakura, startled, asked why Sarada suddenly had so many questions. Sarada insisted she had wondered about this for a long time and accused them of lying. Sakura scolded Sarada for her tone but then regretted raising her voice and apologized, explaining that Sasuke was on a mission and that it would end eventually and he would come home. Others in the room teased and cautioned Sarada not to make Sakura angry, while some of the parents chimed in about discipline and children's behavior. Sarada broke down, crying that they had been apart so long she feared Sasuke might have forgotten his family. Sasuke quietly apologized to Sakura, and Sakura offered to make Sarada understand, touching her forehead with a reassuring smile. Itachi watched with a small smile. The tension in the room suddenly released in an unexpected burst of energy. Sakura, overcome with emotion and fatigue, emitted a surge of chakra that caused a shockwave. Cracks spread through the house and, in an exaggerated, anime-like tumble, the building collapsed around them without graphic injury. Sakura fainted from the strain. Everyone stared in alarm. Deidara commented theatrically on the surprising strength, and Obito thought enviously about the strong team members. Shizun checked Sakura's pulse and suggested the collapse was due to exhaustion. Tsunade urged Sakura to take care of herself. Shizun reassured them that Sakura would likely recover in a few days. Sarada confessed guilt to Shizun for what she had said, and Sasuke quietly told Sarada that she should apologize, speaking softly enough that everyone noted the change in his tone. Later, while looking for answers, Sarada found an image of Team Taka and became suspicious about Karen. She asked Shizun whether Sakura was her real mother. Shizun answered immediately that Sakura was indeed her mother. Sarada then asked for details about her birth, but Shizun had no clear records to provide, which only deepened Sarada's suspicion. Itachi asked why Konoha's hospitals had no record of Sarada's birth. Shizun explained that Sarada had been born outside Konoha while Sasuke and Sakura were traveling, and the others reacted with surprise. Mabuki expressed hope, and conversation shifted to the complexity of the situation. Karen, watching from elsewhere, privately speculated that Sasuke might not truly love Sakura and suggested he had married her under some obligation, which might explain his long absence. Suigetsu asked whether she was serious. Karen responded with a mischievous, mocking gesture that sent Suigetsu tumbling into a watery form in their usual roughhousing, while Yugo shook his head at their antics. A short time later, the group settled into a tense quiet as everyone reflected on what had been revealed and what still remained uncertain. Now everyone wanted to know where Sasuke had been all these years. The screen began to play. Chocho scolded her father for eating a supersized meal in front of his daughter that morning. Karui replied that if he did not eat now he might never, claiming that was the life of a shinobi, and then blushed when Darui reacted. Ino complimented Choji's choice, calling the woman on the screen beautiful, and Asuma patted Choji's head affectionately. Sarada watched them from a distance and laughed nervously. In a wooden forest, a lone man stepped out of what looked like a fading dimensional gate, tired and wary. Naruto called out sharply, and Sasuke acknowledged with a short grunt. Kiba pointed out that the opening looked like a gate, and Shikamaru wondered how it could simply disappear. Sasuke shrugged, and Jiraiya suggested it might be an ability of the Rinnegan, which drew agreement from the others. Sasuke suddenly stopped and looked around, then sighed with a knowing expression. A man armed with a chain and sickle launched a sudden attack. Sasuke blocked the slash with his sword. Everyone watching flinched at the sudden clash. Sasuke pushed the attacker into the air. The man struck a tree and leapt back at Sasuke, swinging the chain with a metal end. Sasuke sidestepped the first strike, but the chain continued around a tree, threatening his blind spot. Sakura watched with worry while Sasuke reassured her quietly, and she nodded. Instead of letting the chain wrap around his body, Sasuke guided it to coil around his sword and delivered a swift kick that sent the attacker tumbling. Naruto reacted with excitement, and Itachi offered a brief, approving pat to Sasuke. Sasuke managed an awkward smile and scratched the back of his head. The attacker groaned as Sasuke formed a hand seal with his sword hand and channeled lightning chakra through the blade. The electricity traveled along the metal chain and stunned the young fighter. Kakashi praised the effective use of the technique. Guy asked why Kakashi's Sharingan was active, and Sasuke complained about the copying of his jutsu. Kakashi defended himself and teased that this was the way of the leaf, causing light amusement among the watchers. The boy landed on the ground, stunned by the lightning. Sasuke approached and froze when he noticed the Uchiha emblem on the back of the boy's coat. Everyone watching was shocked. Itachi reacted in disbelief as both of the boy's eyes flashed with the Sharingan. Sasuke looked surprised and demanded to know how this was possible. Jiraiya and Kakashi exchanged stunned questions about whether anyone could have escaped the Uchiha massacre. Itachi shook his head. Orochimaru reflected internally that it did not seem possible. Sasuke activated his own Sharingan and called out to learn the boy's name, but the young man vanished in a gust of leaves. Deidara remarked on his sudden disappearance, and Obito wondered if Kamui had been involved. Back in the village, Sarada hurried toward the Hokage's office while dwelling on Chocho's earlier comment about doubting parentage. Chocho had confessed to feeling uncertain about whether she was truly her parents' child, and the others had responded with a mix of amusement and concern. Asuma and Ino offered their thoughts about teenage uncertainty, while Choza defended Akimichi eating habits. Shikaku told Choza not to worry, and Shikamaru tried, in his own way, to console the sulking Choji. Chocho had voiced a desire to go on a journey to find her true parents, and she had asked if Choji would come with her. Sasuke warned Choji to keep his daughter away from trouble, and Itachi lightly scolded him for scaring the man. Sasuke backpedaled under Itachi's stern look. Karui wondered quietly what was being taught to her future daughter. Sarada resolved to ask the 7th Hokage about her parentage and ran toward the office. Konomaru realized Sarada was heading there and teased Naruto to prepare for many questions. Kiba teased Naruto about how his future self might answer without revealing Sasuke's secrets, and Naruto considered how to handle the situation. At the Hokage's desk, Naruto complained to Shikamaru about ordering headbands, and Shikamaru offered to handle the task. Ino eyed Shikamaru with suspicion and teased him about his laziness, suggesting he might not be as idle in the future as she had assumed. Everyone adopted anxious expressions as the screen showed the next scene. Sakura, recovering in a hospital bed, asked whether Sarada had gone after Naruto. Shizune confirmed that was what Shikamaru had reported and urged Sakura not to get out of bed. Sakura learned that Sarada had come across a photo of Sasuke with former associates, and Shizune noted that it made sense for a child Sarada's age to wonder about her father. Other shinobi agreed, and Sakura admitted she had always feared that if Sasuke were around, Sarada might be drawn into his conflicts. Sakura reflected that the Sharingan could be triggered by intense emotions, especially sadness. Konomaru asked for clarification, and Kakashi explained that the Sharingan could activate when someone's heart was overwhelmed by strong emotions, recalling how Obito's Sharingan had awakened in the past. Itachi and Kakashi supported the explanation with their own examples. When asked about his own experience, Sasuke recalled how his Sharingan had activated after Haku attacked and it seemed Naruto might be killed. Sasuke remembered Naruto saving him by taking the attack on himself, and Naruto dramatized the memory with theatrical tears while insisting that his friend had been the one to protect him. Sasuke shook his head at Naruto's performance. Everyone laughed. On the other side of the room, Sarada stood trembling, pressed against a pillar. Sasuke held his katana inches from her face and drove the blade into the pillar beside her in a tense show of intimidation. She flinched and tears gathered in her eyes. A few shinobi nearby also flinched. Sarada watched a version of her father move as if to reach for her neck, and she could not hold herself together. Sakura quietly prayed while Sasuke tightened his fists, visibly angry at his future self. Sarada closed her eyes as tears fell. Sasuke stopped. Sasuke looked shocked and asked if it was really Sarada. Sujetsu remarked with disbelief that Sasuke did not remember his daughter's face, and Yugo suggested that perhaps Sasuke had not expected her to be there. Sarada whimpered in agreement. Sasuke slowly withdrew his hand and a sad expression passed over his face. He said that he understood. Naruto called for him not to pretend and to speak to her properly, and Itachi agreed. Sarada looked up at her father and complained that she had known immediately he was her father when she saw him. Her Sharingan faded as Sasuke said nothing. Sasuke removed his blade from the pillar and sheathed it. Tenten urged him to say something soothing. Kiba shrugged and commented that soothing words were not in Sasuke's vocabulary. Sujetsu teased Sakura about why she had married Sasuke, earning a sharp glare from Sasuke. Sakura said nothing. The door opened and light spilled into the room as Naruto entered and walked toward them. Chocho asked why Sarada had run off so quickly. Kakuzu observed that Sarada wanted to meet her father. Deidara noted casually that Sasuke did not even remember her face, a remark that pierced Sasuke with guilt and pain until Itachi warned him sternly. Chocho looked at Sasuke and thought he was handsome. Naruto apologized for arriving late. Sasuke frowned and asked what was going on and why Naruto had brought children. Chocho reacted with a small smile at the sight of Sasuke, but then everything grew quieter as Sarada spoke up. Sarada declared that she had come to see him. Sasuke looked confused. She explained that she had followed the Seventh Lord because she had learned he would be meeting Sasuke and that there was something she needed to ask. Hesitant, she finally asked whether Sakura was really her mother. Deidara continued eating chips, drawing narrowed gazes from the people of Konoha. The scene shifted to the hospital in Konoha. Shizen explained to Sakura that emotional trauma could trigger the awakening of the Sharingan, and suggested that Sasuke's long absence had affected Sarada more deeply than anyone had realized. Shizune asked whether Sarada had ever asked about the others in the photo, and Sakura reflected that Sarada was an honest child who might be confused if she learned Sasuke had once been an enemy of the Hidden Leaf. Ino urged Sakura to make the situation clear to Sarada, while Shizune reminded them that Sasuke now traveled to protect the village. Kakashi reassured Sakura and patted her head, saying everything would be all right. Shizune suggested having a little more faith in Sarada, which left Sakura feeling like a failure as a mother until Naruto and Kakashi offered comfort. Back in the room, Sarada demanded to know what Sasuke had been doing all this time and why he would not live with his wife and daughter. She accused him of not caring that he had forgotten what his own daughter looked like, and produced the photograph, asking who the woman standing next to him wearing glasses like hers was. Karen watched the screen with hopeful eyes. Naruto recognized the photo as he squinted. Chocho admitted she felt uncomfortable with the situation and clung closer to Naruto. Sarada complained that her mother would not tell her anything and that Sasuke was never around, leaving her unable to trust either of them. Sakura flinched and moved closer to Kakashi for support. Sarada asked directly what Sasuke had been doing. Sasuke replied coldly that his work had nothing to do with her, and Kakashi and Jiraiya both scolded him for the way he spoke to his daughter, with Naruto adding that he needed communication lessons. Deidara kept eating his chips and said he was enjoying himself, earning a glare from Itachi. Tears gathered in Sarada's eyes and she was forced to close them. She told them to forget it and ran out. Naruto called after her and accused Sasuke of being insensitive. Chocho thought for a moment that he might actually be her father, but she knew that was impossible, and then she ran after Sarada. The others murmured their agreement. Naruto suggested that it was about time Sasuke told Sarada why he